Dimp Digital presents Idle Game Chat.
Cool.
Hello everyone, it is Logan and Apps here, and unsurprisingly, as usual, we are back with a game review, and it is that man that just keeps pumping the games out. It's Joe.
I don't know about pumping them out. I think it's the first one I've done in months, really,
Well,
in reality.
my point when I say that is because you are the only one, it feels like, that's doing any sort of real completion of games at the minute.
Adkins is playing a load of trash. I don't know what he's up to, but he's really just playing garbage, like short garbage, and then hoping to get a slot. And I'm like, well, stop. What are you doing? Knock it off.
He just
Go
needs
through
to-
the backlog, the proper games on the backlog, not all this tutters.
I don't know what he's doing with that list. It's all over the gaff. Hall's always playing something different, but it's never a game that you could review. Like, it's always something. I mean, he's talking about Overwatch again and go, what are we doing here? It'd be nice to go back for like 1 or 2 hours maybe, just to go, oh, this was good, but then get probably dicked on and go, never playing that again.
Don't think I'd even install it. I wouldn't even give it the time of day, I don't think.
I don't blame you. But yeah, and then I'm basically, my gaming at the moment revolves around what's going on in the Epic Store.
Right.
Because to be fair to it, I would say the free games it actually chuffs out, on the whole, are not bad. Like, it doesn't just... I remember when Xbox used to do their 2 monthly games or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it really did spaff out a load of garbage. Like, you might get 1 or 2 a year that you'd play, like tops, I reckon. But most of the time, you just add it to your library and it's never getting a look in. There's been a couple of bits that have cropped up on the Epic Store that I've played, and I actually quite enjoy them. So whoever's picking those games, I think kind of fair play to you for spaffing them out for nothing.
Yeah, I find that you can find a few in there for sure. They do recycle them, I've noticed, because often I'll go, I can claim that. And it's like, you've already got it. And I was like, they must have done this one before. But for nothing, literally just for having the account and having access to the store, you know, it keeps, I don't think anyone's saying Game Pass is the best doing game anymore because it's those price hikes that we got. But Epic genuinely is. Now, you don't have to praise the fucking launcher. People go, it hasn't got the community, it hasn't got that. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But if it's the choice between playing this game that I've been given or paying 20 quid, 30 quid on Steam just to play it on Steam, I'll just have it where it's free, thank you. Like, literally free, not part of a subscription. So,
I don't really care where it is as long as I can play it.
Yeah.
I've had recent, within probably the past 6 months, I've had what I'd probably say are 4 or 5 that I've booted up to see whether they kind of tickle me or not. I've had Bloons Tower Defense, which is something that I wanted to play on mobile, but I refused to pay. I think it's like £6, £7 or £8 on mobile. And I'm just like, no, come on, we're not doing that.
No.
But yeah, Bloons come on there, Bloons 6. So I got that and played that. I'm just having a look. 4.5 hours I've done of that on and off. So you do the maths of that.
Yeah.
What else have I had? Jotun Slayer, Hordes of Hell, which is a roguelike, which is based around Viking stuff, which I've done 4 hours of. Monument Valley, I booted up.
Yep.
Sable, played and completed that, 20 hours down the drain, as we've discussed before. 2 Point Hospital as well cropped up on there. So I think out of all of the free stuff that crops up at the minute, it's a little, I wouldn't say it's a gem, but it does spaff out some reasonable stuff for free games.
Yeah. You can't complain. Literally, you just have the account, you claim them, that's it. There's no other obligation required. Whereas a lot of the other stuff that's free is part of you having an active subscription, because as soon as you're in it disappears.
does worry me though that they're going to try and do something like that of some sort. Like it would be easy money.
Yeah, it would
to
be.
say, oh, $3.99 a month even, or $5 a month, and it just creeps up from there onwards. But while it's free, I'll be having it. We're not here to discuss Little Tutters today.
Not little.
This is probably, I wouldn't say as far from a Little Tutter as you can get, but it's probably up there close. It's on the scale, right?
Yeah.
Massively hyped game, this one. From was this a 2023?
2023.
Yeah. Which that's crazy to me. Like, it really doesn't feel like that long ago this come out.
No.
But yeah, we're up to Baldur's Gate 3, which is, I know, something that was on your radar, but and before we get into it, the Joe that I know of recent times is I've got to do Baldur's Gate 1. I've got to do Baldur's Gate 2.
No.
I've got to have the lore.
That's an Adkins rot that I've got out of now.
Well,
and he's a fraud because he jumps into all sorts of crap. Like, we've spoken about these fraudulent, like the Metroid Primes he got 4 for some reason. I was like, you haven't even played 2 or 3. And he started getting annoyed about me playing Persona 4 or whatever it was. And I was like, well, don't turn it back on me, you fraud. I'm not the one sitting there claiming it anymore. I've walked away from that situation.
We should call this podcast the Adkins Bitterbug podcast, because there's some underlying bitterbug going on at the minute. He's got under your skin, I reckon, somehow, because he said he's playing Little Tutters, and then
stupid behaviour, isn't it?
Called him a fraud.
He knows what he's done. these fucking exy winders. So we'll get to that another day.
What are these exy winders?
I don't even actually know. It's just I knew it would need them, so I said it.
But yeah, so basically we're here with Baldur's Gate 3, which I actually don't know how long it is, but I expect it is a long game.
My save, I just loaded it up now. People would have seen me in the background if you've got the video. If you're on the audio, tough shit. The last save I made literally just before it ended, probably 10 minutes later. 133 hours and 11 minutes. Now, that's not even the full story, because actually, according to the PlayStation dashboard, 210 hours have been put into it. And there'll be explanations as to why some of those hours are there, but not on all of them. So,
right,
which we'll get to.
Has there been... How many Ronnie restarts do you have?
I think I got through 3 characters before I was happy.
No,
one was 12 hours deep. And then the rest were like maybe a few hours here and there.
Right.
But there's a number of things why, but we can get into it all. But yeah, that's part of it. The other one is that timer there only tracks. So if I go 20 minutes into a battle, then die and reload, the timer doesn't include those 20 minutes. So all the reloading, the restarting, all that sort of stuff isn't included in that save file. So, and obviously that 210 hours is somewhat inaccurate, because again, I may have sat in the menu overall, fiddling around, looking at whatever I wanted to do, or just been distracted before even starting the game. So it's somewhere in between those two. I mean, I'd say my save file, was probably, if you include all the restarting, 150. So it's up there with like Persona levels of length. Persona 5 Royale or Royal.
Yeah,
so it's a big old bastard.
It is. I did know that. I was expecting it to be 120 plus. So I went. I was still a whole game basically away, really, with 30 hours missing. So it will get you.
It can be done shorter, obviously. Obviously, we know that I'm slow generally, but how long to beat has it at? Well, it's 117 hours here, so I wasn't that far off. Main story only 72 hours. Main plus size 115. Completionist 180. So somewhere between.
Completionist is a sickener, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you ain't doing it, I reckon, in 180. You're probably 200 plus, really.
No. Main plus extras 120. Yeah, I mean that's par for the course. I was somewhere in between main plus extras and completionist, in that I did everything in the journal that I came across and explored quite heavily. I was talking to Hall afterwards, and he's been through the game multiple times.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, you would have missed a shitload of stuff." He was like, "Did you do this?" And I was like, "Yes." "Did you do this?" "Yes." "Did you do this?" There was one I didn't do, but other than that, he was like, "Actually, you've done a lot more than what I would have done on my first playthrough." Like, so it may have been like a handful of quests that I missed, but it wasn't for lack of trying. It wasn't like I had them sitting there and I was like, "Oh, I can't be asked to do that." I was like, "No, we're going to work through all this and get it done." So I did. So yeah, it's a big old game. You can make it shorter. And you don't really need to make it that long. You know, we'll get into how the leveling works and whatnot, but a typical JRPG, the higher level you get, the easier it gets. And there's, you know, you go up to level 50, 100 even. This one caps out at level 12, which I probably hit 30 hours from the end. So at that point, I was as powerful as ever going to be, other than gear, which does make a bit of a difference, but you can get gear for doing quests and whatnot.
Yeah.
So maybe there's that to think about, but generally your core stats, you'll be up to level well before the sort of time to close it, and if you're doing what I was doing, you'll have multiple dozens of hours where you're not not improving at all, other than finding or buying new gear. So somewhat of a concern for people, I guess, but that's how it worked.
I don't think people hate that at the end, though. I think there's still something satisfying about, even when, you know, I got pretty far on Destiny, there's still something fun about having the guns, the build, the weapons, the gear, like all that you want and that you built out, and taking things on in that manner. And then there's always that hope that you might get something better as well. And it does become incremental gains. So I think that's pretty much par for the course, right? You don't want to constantly feel like you're chasing a never-ending target.
No.
So where do you want to start with this big old bastard?
Well, where do you want to start? Because you were Well, I don't know if you were sniffing around this, but Paper chucked out the idea probably 3 months ago about us doing a co-op run. I said, I'm interested, but I want to do a solo run first, which I think... I don't know why I even tried to think I was going to jump in two-footed multiplayer, but whatever. But you were sort of in the group. I didn't know if you was agreeing with what Paper was saying and wanted to do it, or whether you was like, oh, I'm just being pulled in for numbers at this rate, I'm not interested. But I'm kind of interested where your mind's at with it and what you want to know, if you want to know anything.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, my base assumption with this game was that broadly, I assumed it would be better run as like a trio, or at least like as a co-op game. I don't know why that is. I don't know what that's based on. So when you were like, I want to run through it solo first, I was like, well, knowing you, that doesn't surprise me in of itself. But like on the story page, like on the Steam page, which I will read out if it helps, it explains why I think that, right? So literally right up on the front of the Steam page, it says Baldur's Gate 3 is a story-rich, party-based RPG.
Oh, hang on, there we go. Story-rich.
Story-rich.
Ignore the next bit. As soon as I hear that, I don't want... You don't need to be involved, you and Paper. Meddling.
Well, this is where it becomes confusing. It's like a
Where's your cut-off point?
Party-based.
Nah.
With what?
Well, I see story-rich, and I think that's it. I don't need to know anything else about multiplayer nonsense.
It is interesting, though, because those two things don't naturally marry up well together.
No.
Like the more party based it is, the less story rich I think it should be. There should be something there. But...
They might be referring to the fact that you have party members in tow, and might not be referring to it being multiplayer, because you'll always have AI companions with you that you control in the battle as well. So they may be referring to that, but there isn't. And again, these are all just threads I'm putting out that you can pull at. You could argue this is best played multiplayer, and having gone through the complete solo experience, I could make a pretty good case to say, on balance, for most people, that's the way to be doing it, because taking this whole thing on solo comes with its own issues and drawbacks. Yeah, I'll get story richness all to myself, but I get a load of other troubles that comes with that and annoyances that are less annoying, and the kind of the burden is spread with the more players you have in the active party.
Well, let's deal with it then, because this is my main kind of query with it, because I think I was always, so my position on this was that I was always happy to play through it. I was aware it's a big game, and me and Paper are generally less invested in story than you are. I wouldn't say that I'm not invested in it. I like to know the story and know what I'm doing and why I'm doing things, but I don't ever feel like a deep need to get into the lore.
Yeah.
So I was always aware, and you set out your stall quite quickly, really, on this one, was that I want to play for it first to get all the story, and then I can get the multiplayer enjoyment essentially at a later date, which is fine and makes sense. But I always wondered at what cost, really, because my understanding was that this, I wouldn't say it's designed to be played necessarily as a party, but that was the assumption I made, is that you kind of get the best overall experience with at least one other.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'm kind of curious about is how you got on with it, and whether you felt like having me and or a Paper or whoever with you in that would have made it overall a better experience, I guess, or does that take so much away from the story piece that you're like, good God, I'm glad I didn't have these Morons here, although at times it would have been slightly helpful to deal with some of the took.
Yeah. In absence of actually playing it multiplayer or co-op, that should be said, here's my view on it. Story-wise, and this is the thing, it depends. Your multiplayer is a strange beast in that it completely depends on who you're playing with and how well behaved they are. Because if I'm sitting there and there's like a cutscene going on or a dialogue option, we're chatting, and then someone's fucking eating or all that shit in the background or talking over it or laugh, it's like that. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter how much easier the game becomes. All the burdens disappear. That's just going to completely ruin it. So assuming that everyone behaves themselves, the main advantage you'll have as a group is simply where I think the game has the most friction is management of gear, management of skills, management of spells, management of the feats that each class offers. You know, managing this large roster of different classes, different strengths, different weaknesses, dex build versus strength build. You've got over half a dozen companions that you can end up with that are all AI, and yet you as the player has to determine what boots they're going to wear, what gloves they're going to wear, what armor they're going to wear, what weapon they're going to have in their main hand, what if they're going to have a shield in their offhand, are they going to double hold the weapon, are they going to have a helmet? And the complexities of D&D in itself, you'll be playing with one character normally, and that's enough to deal with. Just dealing with your own fucker, making sure they're equipped and set up. Times that by 8, 9, I can't remember what the final number of companions is. It's a fool's errand to try and keep on top of it all. And you just lose track of certain individuals that you're like, I don't even understand what I should be doing with this character combat-wise to aid me. You chuck them in, you can't remember how to play with them, they die and they become a hindrance, so they get left out. So the management overload for one player, I think, is enough. Particularly, again, if we go to sort of a cards on the table, we've played one-shot D&D campaign. That's my only experience with Dungeons and Dragons, the rule set. Hall had to basically screen by screen show me how to set the character up, what to do, and then times in that complexity by the number of people in the party, plus the modifier of pretty difficult game, particularly when you don't know what you're doing, and you're in trouble. You're just staring at the screen thinking, well, how am I going to even manage this? And it's just something that becomes a complete drain. You know, you spend 40 minutes setting up all your characters, then they level up 2 levels, you get new gear, and there are better ways to manage it than the way I did, which simply wasn't managing it well at all. But if you could then reduce that and say, because there's 4 people you can have actively in your party at once. That's it. So there's people that are going to be left on the bench. So ideal world, you get 4 humans in. You say, right, I'm going to be this character. You can be whatever you want. Blah blah. Everyone just manages their own shit. And then that's a much easier proposition. What you have here is trying to do all that on your own and do it in a way that where you're effective and efficient in combat is really tricky because you've then got to learn how other classes work. What's the best way to play a warlock? I don't fucking know. I don't know.
So just to dig into this a bit, what you've got to do. So, and this is me reading between the lines. There is a party size of, is it 4?
Active party. So yes, what you'll explore with. Then you may have at least 4 others, if not more, back at camp who you can pull in, you know, and use as one of the other 3. So you rotate your party if you want to. Some people don't. But for companion quests, you kind of need to put the companion in whose quest it relates to, otherwise they get annoyed. So you have to kind of rotate people in and out.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, in a world in which me and James are playing with you, or that we're playing in a co-op, we would all be different characters, right?
Yeah.
Theoretically, like, and I'm sure if we set this up to do it as a co-op, we would all be like, right, okay, what characters should we be, and try and plan around that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But and then I would have to worry about mine, you would worry about yours, James would worry about his, and then if there's a 4th that we have to tag along, we can figure that out. But essentially what it does is it takes away the focus. So the advantage to playing together is that you're always in this, you know, party. So it's always a party-based system by the sounds of it. It's just whether it's AI that you're managing or it's me as a real person that I'm managing, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And the complexity is that you're doing 8 people's management, essentially.
Yeah. And in battle you're doing it as well. They don't operate on their own. You're controlling exactly where they go, what they do, what spells they use. So again, you've got to understand the gear elements, how best to equip them, and then when it comes to a battle, it's how do I utilize the cleric best compared to the fighter? And as soon as you start to add that in, it becomes tricky. Now look, I got through it. I'm still here. We got through it all, but there's definitely an overload of that, and some of that's just because of the rule set of D&D. But then also, I think they could have done a better job with sorting your gear. So at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. So I want the armor that's going to give me the best armor rating. I can't remember what this AC or whatever it's called. There's no way to sort your gear by that individual's stats versus the gear and then giving you the top results. You have to look in it manually and go, okay, that says 17. Armor class, that's it. That says 17. I'll put it on. Okay, it's gone to 18 because of this buff that I've got. Let's try this bit of armor. That's gone to 17. Okay, back to that one. There's no way of just sorting it and saying, give me the top armor class out of these and I'll just pick that one. So that's part of the issue, is that they haven't really got the tools baked in to assist you. Then you factor in on playing it on a fucking controller.
Yeah.
That's to be fair, 90% of the game, I was not even sitting there thinking, God, this is awful to play. But there were times in the inventory space, gear management, spell, things like that, as well. I was like, this is where it kind of hurts even more because it's a bumble to get in and out of the menus of that. Whereas a mouse and keyboard, usually it's drag and drop, hotkeying. You know, you've got all this assistance you can call upon. So again, that's a problem in itself. You could resolve some of it if it gave you more assistance, and you could even argue that if the game taught you the rules a bit better around D&D, you would start out in a better place. But the onboarding is pretty diabolical. It's happy just to let you really just die constantly and be underprepared and learn that way. And it's like, well, that's what we're doing. That's what you kind of want. You're almost in lack of like a hall dungeon master to be there to guide you.
Yeah.
Like an experienced player would be useful. I think even if all 3 of us went at it on our own with no assistance, we would struggle because we'd be flapping.
Interesting.
But then, you know, you take you 2 away and leave me on my own with clerics to deal with, and fucking rangers or whatever they are. I'm like, how do I even use these guys? And it is a problem.
It's a good point. It is incredibly overwhelming, I think is the word. I mean, even when Hall was doing it and we were doing it in person, you are just so overwhelmed by everything. Like,
what do I have to roll here, Hall? Which dice is it? Like, I don't fucking know.
I mean, you kind of, to a certain extent, get into a little bit of a roll with it, but we did a very basic introductory story and everything, and it's still just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's I think it's completely fair and understandable. If it doesn't, you think sometimes, is it made for the? I loathe to use this term, but it's only like the nerds, like the people that have been playing that stuff for years, and they sort of come along and they can really immediately get into it and they feel at home. Like, have they prioritized that audience essentially over new players? Like, that's anything I can think of.
I think Larry's,
which is fine. Again, that's a decision to make.
Previous games like Divinity Original Sin, they're probably just as complex. They just don't use Dungeons and Dragons rule set, so they've got a bit more freedom about how they translate that to a video game. I think there are some conflicting issues with how D&D is supposed to work and how you put that into a video game. How do you make that an experience that a video game player is going to enjoy, but also if someone from the D&D world jumps in, they understand you're not bastardizing the the theme or the theory behind it. And I think they thread that needle mostly pretty well. I think from a video gamer's perspective, there's times when I was like, this is getting in the way a little bit, but outside of changing it, and annoying and calling it D&D and then it's not being D&D, you've then got to deal with that fallout. Yeah. I think they've said their next game, Divinity, one of the reasons they're going back to it and not doing Baldur's Gate is so they don't have to be tied into the D&D rule set. So clearly I think it was difficult for them to go through and think, this whole thing's got to be built around these types of dice rolls, these armor classes, these classes, all this kind of stuff. And I think going back to something that they built from the ground up, they can completely change how things work and no one's going to bat an eyelid because there's no established rule set or formula to follow. Yeah, I thought that was interesting from their perspective. Also, they haven't got to pay out for any rights of theirs. It's their own stuff, so they haven't got to. Is it Wizards something or other that owns the D&D name? They probably were taking a cut of every sale.
Sizable,
and going,
yeah, no doubt. I mean, I get it. Like, you use that to sell more. I mean, would Hall have played this if it hadn't been tied to D&D?
I think he has played Divinity Original Sin, or at least Dave has, and Dave's obviously a conduit for Hall to be snarling up into things. So Dave had already done it. And I think
ringleader.
Yeah, it's a Larian game, so they were happy to jump into the D&D wrinkle. Probably just was like their dream come true.
Yeah.
Now they're getting to gamerize this thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but from a creative and artistic perspective, I suppose you look at that and they're hamstrung to a certain extent by everything that's kind of going on in that world. So you're creating it to a certain point, but then, as you say, they've got to follow a certain rule set, and it must be a little bit challenging to balance that. But do you want to talk to some of that? And you said sometimes they got it, or most of the time they hit the nail on the head, but sometimes it was a bit obstructive. Have you got some particular things in mind that you want to talk to?
I just think trying to understand how the basics of D&D works and apply it to this was difficult. Like I said, I got to the point where I was putting gear on and just look at the number change on my character sheet rather than knowing that was the right thing to put on. I'd like go put that on. Okay, that number went up. Next one. Okay, that number went down. I didn't know because I didn't understand the scaling of some of the items. Some are scale to your dexterity, some scale to your strength. That wasn't immediately clear to me a lot of the time. I just think that there's a better version of this communicated to the player, but I don't know how much you can water it down though before it becomes not Dungeons and Dragons. That's where my lack of experience in the D&D side of things will tell here. I just knew as a video game at times it was frustrating to manage things. And that's really that's a small potato in what this game offers. The management side of thing is just a bit of an overload. And then, like I said, the going through your inventory and not being able to sort it in a particular way. Then you got 8 companions in your camp. 4 of them are in your active party. Okay, I want to look at someone else in the party who's not there and change their gear. Nope, you've got to put them into the active party before they can select the gear that you've got. And it's like things like that, again, they could have been streamlined and been like, no, it doesn't matter where you are, you can put things, change their helmet, change their weapon. But no, you have to go and then talk to someone at camp and say, you're in, you're out, then they're in, then you can change their loadout. That was tiresome as well.
Inventory management.
Yeah.
Or just management. I must admit, I'm surprised. Why did you play this on console?
I don't trust this PC anymore to do anything
Okay.
that's outside of a strategy game.
Yeah.
Which this technically is, but this is a big fucker. I didn't trust this PC. I know it's a bit of a beast to run. PS5 Pro, I thought, you know what? And also, I'd read an article, I think it was on Eurogamer years ago, and it was like one of these stupid headlines of like, oh, I love playing Baldur's Gate 3 with my controller, here's why. And I was like, God, I can't wait for this to read this garbage and have people rip the piss out of it. And essentially, the idea of the article was that because you're not using a mouse and clicking on locations and watching your character go there, that's how you typically play with the mouse and keyboard. You'd like use your cursor and go, right, go and investigate that bucket or that chest. You hit it, you sort of sit there, wait for your character to run, interacts, brings up the screen, you loot it, whatever. Because you're actually physically using the left stick and right stick to move your character, like swing the camera around, left stick to move forward, backwards. It feels like a third-person game, like a traditional game in that sense. It doesn't feel like this CRPG from isometric view. So what I was doing is bringing the camera right in, and it felt like I was playing a massive, like a Dragon Age game or Mass Effect, which definitely has ties to, in terms of like dialogue and choices and things that you kind of do from a narrative perspective. Anyway, I'd read the article kind of outlaying that, and I thought, if I'm going to try this, that's probably the way to do it. So I did. I waited for it to go on sale and then jumped in and thought, let's try it with a controller. And that, coupled with the lack of trust in this PC, meant that was the way to do it. It wasn't perfect. There's certain zones where it ran like garbage, but it runs like garbage on PC, seemingly, unless you've got a supercomputer. So that would have been a struggle anyway. And I think it crashed 4 times in total. So not great, but the game is 130, 40, 50 hours that I put into it. So hour per crash isn't too bad, but nonetheless, it's not perfect 3 years on, or 2.5 years on from when it was originally released. So, yeah, there's a couple of things, but really it was seeing that article outlay it as like, oh, this feels like a more traditional console game playing it this way. And then also the lack of trust in the PC.
So did you change the camera angle then?
No, I just zoomed it in. Just like that, you can do that on the PC, but because you're not, at least as I understand it, you're not using WSD-A to steer. You're clicking on things and directing them. It's just easy to do that from a zoomed out position because you can see more of the environment.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I felt much more immersive because it doesn't get close. It doesn't get like right up their arse, but it's close enough where you feel like you're in the world rather than from afar engaging with it. Like I felt immersed into it. So yeah, I also did used to zoom it out, and sometimes you can click the right, I think it's the right stick in, and then it'll give you the cursor to go and do the selection thing that you'd normally do. But that, even if that movement of being a bit more zoomed in and wandering around is on the PC control scheme, it just feels more natural to play at that of a controller. You've got an analog stick, swing the camera, left stick to move. That's just baked into my brain at this stage. So even if the option is there on the PC, it's not going to feel as natural. I've never got on with third-person mouse and keyboard games. It's never... The idea of someone playing Gears of War like that to me is insane, even though it's quite common.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting one because I prefer the idea of controlling the player with the analog sticks. I don't particularly like point and click. If I can, I turn that off so that and I'd rather control it with WASD, but still it's a bit annoying because to move forward you have to keep moving the camera angle round like with right.
Yeah.
It and it's okay, I get used to it. But I don't like having to do inventory management without you can get past it, and it's a balancing between those two things because I prefer one thing versus the other, so it's like the trade-off between what would I prefer. But something like this, I I've been sniffing around this game obviously now for 18 months ish, and I've never once looked on a console store page. I've just been looking at Steam. It never even come into my mind to try and play something like this on console, which is why I asked it, because it was, for me, always felt like a natural and obvious PC title.
It is really. That's how it's made. That's the intention of it. Because obviously once I take control of the cursor and go into like cursor mode, which you have to do for combat because it's turn-based, it's never as smooth as the mouse. It just never is. It's pretty good. Like I know very rarely do I think, maybe in the early goings as I was getting used to things, but after a few hours I was like, no, this is actually pretty serviceable. It reminded me of Diablo when that was played that on console. That's a PC game again, mouse and keyboard out and out, but they had adapted the control scheme to fit a controller really well. And it's the same here. Like if you're die-hard console player, you can play this without really suffering much awkwardness, other than, like I said, of the inventory management. But a mouse and keyboard can't save bad systems in there anyway. It can just make it a little bit less worse, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So, should we talk about the story? Because let's be honest, that's the main reason and the main thing you want out of it. Story rich. Do you feel like this story was story rich? Was it satisfactory? Was it fulfilling? Did you enjoy it?
I'd say the main story is good. Wasn't like completely blown away by it. But again, these games are more about the smaller stuff, side quests, companions, relationships, watching your cause and effect, not just on the main story, because there is that as well, but on smaller activities or scenarios in the world, and the way that kind of, at least seemingly, branches out. The freedom to kind of feel like, let's try this, and it mostly working. Mostly, there's a caveat of that, for sure. But I think in terms of if you're sitting down to get a narrative experience, I don't think you're going to... It's not The Last of Us, or The Last of Us Part 2. It's not that type of story. It's more of a saga and more of an adventure and more of like, here's my fingerprints on how this thing turned out. This feels like my own adventure. And that's done really well. And again, with the companions, not all of them, but enough of them to make them interesting. Going through their backstories, they've all got some sort of issue that you'll want to, if you can be bothered, iron out before you finish the game. So it's kind of good to see those conclusions. And again, you can have input into choices that are made, and you can influence them, etc., and some really, really compelling decisions that they kind of force you to make. And you're like, well, I don't know what is there a right answer? No. But I'm going to go with this one and hope that that's the lesser of two evils. They do a good job of putting you in those situations. So, yeah, it's not... I don't think... Again, if you write down a bit of paper, you go, that sounds pretty run-of-the-mill. And I go, yeah, it probably is. But the way in which the story is woven into your interactivity of it and your decisions, that's what makes the special stuff. That's why games like Mass Effect are always loved. And I only played Dragon Age Inquisition, but this is... of that ilk. Baldur's Gate was developed by BioWare back in the day, and 2. So they kind of created that system. They've done Knights of the Old Republic, and then we've got Mass Effect, Dragon Age, etc. So this isn't done by them. Larian have kind of picked up the slack in that area, and they've applied it to turn-based strategy combat, and you can see the influences of an old classic BioWare game all over this. You can talk to loads of people, and then you you can ask them about X, Y, or Z if you want to. It's all optional. And then, you're going to be asked to make a call or a challenging decision. You're going to live and die by that choice. But that can get you in trouble. That could cause a combat encounter that you're not ready for, and you die. And guess what? You just reload and you choose the other option. So it's not perfect, because I think the way in which the combat is so brutally difficult, particularly at the beginning, I couldn't play it just naturally. I had to do a lot of reloading and redoing because the outcome in the immediate aftermath of what I just did was impossible to battle out of, because again, it's not an action game where you can finesse your way out of it. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. If you're 2 levels below and there's 30 enemies, you can roll as many dice as you want. It's going to take a real upheaval to get over that.
Yeah.
So that's the only criticism I'd say around it, but that's more ties back into the combat side of things. But it does affect your narrative adventure, because some things I just felt like I couldn't commit to, because I'd die, reload, try again, die, reload, try, and I'm like, what are we doing here? One caveat to that though, you can save pretty much anywhere in the game. You can save between turns. So actually, if you wanted to, you could say, right, I'm 2 levels below this encounter. I'm going to do my turn. If I get a critical hit, I'm going to save it. Next turn's their turn. They hit you. Now reload. Next turn's their turn again. They miss you. Okay, save. You can absolutely just do that if you want. Just keep checkpointing the game at every positive outcome. And I'll tell you what, for some of the encounters, I think it's necessary for a newbie to, like, it's hard. The game is difficult. At least checkpointing halfway through, or when you think, oh, I've got further than I have before, because these battles, I've had battles going on for like half an hour almost, scrambling around in the trenches, and you don't want that just to end in a fail. So you are left with that option always, if you want to really scum your way out of a bad situation. But it was easier just to try something else in most cases.
Is that right? And that's the only way I can think to ask that question.
There's no wrong answers. The alternative is that you can't do that and you're left extremely frustrated, I would say. I had too many action RPGs, where you're locked into even just your loadout or your gear set. You're locked into this armor, this weapon, and you go into a boss battle, and the boss is resistant to your element you've chosen. You've got a weakness of what they attack with, and the only way to really get through that is to reload an earlier save, change all your gear, and do it again. And I've never liked that. I think there should always be an option to change things. I think this is the lesser of two evils, though, because it allows people the flexibility. You don't have to use it. You can play it as purely as you want. But there will be times, and you think, I don't really want to fail this one. And you can do this. You could do this on dialogue choice as well if you want. So everything is a dice roll. You've got a persuasion check. Let's say that the number's 15 on the dice roll. You've got a +5 modifier and a +2 modifier on whatever you roll. So 9 times out of 10, you'll hit it. You roll it, you get a 1. Well, what do? You just accept that's the way it's going to go and then go into battle for 20 minutes and kill them? Or do you reload and say, you know what, that should have gone another way based on the stats? These are all things that players individually have to grapple with, but the option's there. I'd rather have the option than it be have your hand forced. But then if you want the full natural playthrough, live and die by the dice roll, you have to be really disciplined, because it's so easy to just fall into a trap of reloading shit. It's so easy.
Well, this is what I mean, and then you basically just soil the whole...
It's my story, mate. I'll decide.
I'm not criticising whatever decision. It's just you could basically cheese everything, though.
You can, yeah.
But the reason why I'm grappling with this is because one of the things that it kind of... So again, the store page literally says, set in the universe of Dungeons & Dragons, where your choices shape a tale of fellowship and betrayal, survival and sacrifice, and the lure of absolute power. So it's not... I mean, I don't know what's worse. Because you've got Sir Royland, where it doesn't matter what you do,
Yeah.
You basically get like it's you got the illusion of choice.
Yes.
And then on the other side, you've got this RNG of choice.
I should pause you there. Not every decision's an RNG choice. Like it, there's a lot of them where you just choose to do X or Y.
Right.
It's just that sprinkled in, there are like skill checks for certain things. So I would say the majority of it, you just choose X, Y, Z, A, B, or C. You might even have that many options. However, there may be certain instances, particularly if you want to avoid a conflict, where it will say, well, you want to intimidate them or persuade them, and that's when you do your dice roll, and whatever happens. Now, there are a few, I think there are definitely a few choices tucked in behind those kind of dice rolls, but they are more edge case or niche items. I would say generally, if you want to do something, you can do it. But it's not to say it's all the time. And sod's law is it'll be the one thing that you wanted to do that you really cared about, and then the dice fucks you, and you're like, now we've got a choice to make. But again, if you were playing this in multiplayer, I think we'd have very strict rules of you live and die by the dice roll, and that's it.
Well, this is where I'm.
You have to set up rules of engagement and be like, this is how we're playing it, and that's how it's going to be. On your own, you're left to your own devices, experimentation and fuckery. So have at it.
What would you say if we were to all play it? Would you be like? Would you say we get free reloads?
So you do. So actually, the dice rolls for like skill checks, you build over time. Each character builds up something called inspiration, which I think is at higher levels of D&D. But essentially, that lets you re-roll a failed dice check, a skill check. So if you hit the one, you go, I'll use my inspiration point to re-roll it. You might get it, you might not. You can only store up to 4 at a time, though. Even though throughout your campaign, your characters will be inspired by certain events, triple that. But you can only store 4, so you can't store 80 of them up and then just keep going at it.
Yeah.
So I should say that there is an option to re-roll it using your inspiration. You just have to, again, pick and choose. Does this really mean this much to me? Or can we slide by and accept that's gone wrong? But it's kind of a different... From memory of Mass Effect, I'll use that as the analogue. If you were level 8 on your charisma and the check was level 8, you just choose it. There's no randomness. It's either you were at the level or you wasn't.
Yeah.
This is different in that even if you're over the level, particularly, or at an advantage, there's still that chance of you failing. But equally, there's that opportunity of if you're not really equipped to choose that, like your charisma is lower than what would typically be accepted, you still got a chance of beating the odds.
Yeah.
And there's those two systems at play. Like there's some people that prefer it. Like, I got to level 8, I put my time and effort into leveling up my charisma. I want to be able to choose all the top charisma choices. And that's like, I think that's fair. But also there's this other way of doing it where if you just let the game decide, or the dice decide for you, you can have some interesting scenarios build up that you wouldn't have otherwise planned for. But if you desire that absolute control, it will drive you insane because you don't have absolute control in any of them. There's no guarantees. They can all go wrong. Every single dice roll, even if you only need a 2, you could roll a 1. It's an auto fail. Doesn't matter what buffs you've got on there, you've had it.
Yeah.
So it's down to player preference there. But I experiment with all. I save scum some. I let things fly. Like I really wanted just to test it and see what it would let me do and wouldn't do. And I was like, it's letting me do whatever I want to a certain extent.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
right,
it's upsetting.
Yeah, it's just, I get it. It's just a real quandary, I think.
It's no different to putting something on easy though, and just to get past the boss that people do. Like, it's no different from calling in someone on Elden Ring to help out, because really you're making the game half as easy. Like, there's always these options in game. The fact that you can just save anywhere is insane, though. Like most games, it has to be checkpointed to a certain. Like you literally will just be like, right, last choice. It was locked in. It'll go back to the start of that, and you'll just have the dialogue start again. Like it really is insane. But it lets people then if you want it, like, if you want the option gone, I think you can turn on single save mode, and you won't be doing any of that. So if people want that experience, it is there in the options, and you can customize all this. So have at it, I say. If we were doing our own one, my view would be no re-rolls outside of the inspiration in-game, currency, because that's all tied into D&D, blah, blah, blah. I would say on combat encounters, you want a checkpoint. We should allow a few checkpoints here and there, because you just don't want to get in a situation where you're trapped and can't do it, and then you've got to reload the whole dialogue encounter, or you've got to the back end and then got stung by some disaster, and then that's 30 minutes down the tubes. But that's just my view. I know some people wouldn't dare save after a turn. I know some people will save after every single positive turn and checkpoint it that way.
Yeah.
He's upset.
What a dilemma. Yeah, it's not. I knew this would be in there, obviously, but it does create, as you say, you can basically do what you want when you're on your own, but if you're tied in with others, then slightly different proposition, I think.
Yeah.
Which is why Ronnie might not like doing that first time round.
No, it would have been a nightmare.
A lot of potential to upset him. Right. Is there anything you really want to kick about it?
Kick?
We haven't really given it any kickings, which might be necessary.
No, I don't think so. There's this little bit of jank to it. Just generally, like, I don't know, it'd be like in a dialogue choice, and then it'll cut to the person. They'll be in a weird pose and they'll snap. It's not often, but it's just this little layer of like, oh yeah, you can tell that not every inch of this game has been gone through with a fine-tooth comb, because it's so big, and because of the outcomes and there's no way really realistic that they could do this. So there is a little bit of that. There's a couple of instances where I went to an individual, and in context of the game, they were telling me stuff that I hadn't encountered yet. I was like,
didn't that happen in Horizon for you?
No, that was the game where it knew what I'd done and hadn't done. It was really good. It'd actually call back specifically, and I'd be like, oh, shit. Whereas this only happened once again, but there was and I was like, what's he talking about? Who's that? And then later on, I bumped into what they were talking about, and I was like, I didn't have any. I was trying to solve this problem that I didn't have any knowledge of. Seemingly, I never even bumped into them, so that was a bit of a pain.
That's usually my daily job at work.
Yeah, I can relate.
Solve a problem that I've got no knowledge of.
Yeah, exactly. The companions and the way they follow you is annoying sometimes, because there's traps set out in certain areas. So you see there's like a mine on the floor, and you go, okay, I'll walk around the mine. One of those dopey fucks inevitably steps on it and blows them and you up and damages your HP. And because, like I said, the combat can be tough, you're like, well, do I take a short rest now to recover some HP? Do we go and do a long rest, which recovers HP and spells, but then you've got to use your resources of like food that you gather? Ultimately, you could take a million long rests throughout the game, the amount of stuff you pick up, as long as you're being careful and not just blowing it, and it won't be a problem. But early going again, you'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake, I've only got 3 tomatoes back. We can't be affording to do that. Any other gripes? So we talked about the save scum sort of trap that you might fall into, but it's player choice, so not really going to ding that. I think there is a high barrier to entry. I don't think it's very newbie friendly at all. Just from D&D and from the way Larian games work, I think there's a lot there that can be tricky. Some progression spikes potentially, like you may stumble into quests where you're significantly underleveled for that encounter. Again, adds to this dilemma of what do I do? Do I just gut this out, or do I reload and come back later? You can't just naturally just play through the game, because you'll accidentally end up somewhere you shouldn't have been for that level. I think that's about... Oh, it crashed 4 times, yeah?
Yeah.
You die in it was just... Well, whatever, we've said that. It's fine. 4 times, you do the maths, whether that's acceptable to you or not. But you die in a battle, you reload for whatever reason, you boot the game up. There's brutal load times in this game. Brutal. And I say the brutal in comparison to how games operate now. Like, they are so quick to get in and out and reload. Like, it's near instant. This is not one of those titles. You'll be sitting there twiddling your thumbs thinking, I remember these days. And it's all here on display. And if you're in a particularly challenging area, you can imagine how many times you've got to reload it. I've got an extra, 50, 60 hours on that clock. I mean, you can attribute a lot of that down to sitting at those loading screens thinking, fuck my life, how am I going to get out of this one?
Wow.
So be prepared if you need to. And again, that's why people probably don't want to save scum too much, because you'll be in load screens most of the game trying to finesse it. So maybe that's purposely done to counter that. They're like, well, if you want to reload it, you'll be sitting there.
You get a punishment.
20, 30 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
But in today's world, particularly on consoles, because they've all got the SSDs, most people have on PC, to be fair, but load times in and out of games are much quicker than what they were previously. So that can be a stinker.
Yeah. So is there anything that we've missed that you wanted to call out?
I mean, did you want to know more about how the combat works? Understand that? Tactical, turn-based, so it's about positioning as well as... And I mean positioning as in high ground matters for ranged characters, range of spells, other things like area of attacks and environmental things, shooting down a chandelier on people, that can all be done. There is an element to that I think if you haven't played one before, again, you're going to be on the back foot because you'll be like, I don't understand the best way to play this. You will soon learn, but again, going back to this theme of it being tricky to get your head around initially, that can be a bit of a tricky one, because static turn-based is choose attack, choose spell, choose heal, go. This is like move, cover, sight lines, environmental. There's a fucking barrel of oil next to me. I don't really want to be near that in case one of those fuckers flames it. Got all that to consider, which is good, but obviously another complexity that people that haven't played games like this before will struggle with, because the onboarding is not great. But it's very satisfying once you get your head around it.
Like when you think back to when we played, as an example, The Division, right? You just sort of go in there and you just mindlessly shoot in numbers. Do you know what I mean? You got that going on, and there's a few little environmental things, but not a lot, if any. Like you can maybe shoot a barrel here and there. Yeah. And then you've got all this stuff going on within this game. And obviously they're two completely different games. I'm not trying to compare them, but it just goes to... It was just a parallel that I drew in my mind of how different and how involved and overwhelming these D&D like titles probably can be. And
I'll go back to it. Times that by 3 other people that you've got to manage on the battlefield, and you're like, oh dear.
I don't think I'd enjoy it. The thing that
I don't think solo is good for a lot of people. Honestly, I honestly don't think that. I think I was able to gut through it because I don't have a great deal of experience of these games, but I was willing to just do it. Yeah. A lot of people, if I said, there you go, Logan, go and finish that on your own, you'd be like, I'm pulling my fucking hair out, what's left of it.
Well, I've toyed with the idea. Like, genuinely, I thought, because I want to play it.
Yes.
But I was always conscious of my view that I thought it's probably best played in a party. But I have toyed a couple of times over the past year or so with the idea of just giving it a go and seeing where I got with it.
Or you could put it on Explorer mode, the easier mode.
Well, I mean,
I'll be honest. Actually, this is true. I started one game on balance, which is the default. I got a ways into it, and I was like, I don't like the voice of my character. I'm a half orc, and he talks like he's from fucking Oxford and Cambridge. And I was like, this doesn't. There's no gruff voice overs for the males. I will say that's a negative. There should be some fucking geezer in there. There's not. Yeah. They're all like, oh, little ponds, but it's like, for fuck's sake. So anyway, that annoyed me, and I was struggling with the combat. I was like, I'm in this battle, and I was like, this guy's 4 levels above me, and I was like, I must be doing something wrong here. So anyway, I restarted that one again, did another one, got into another battle, and was like, this is really fucking hard. And then the 3rd time, I started it on easy Explorer, and I've done, I think, another 10 hours on that. And you know what? Ronnie was like, no. It's too easy now, isn't it? you're just steamrolling this. So I had to restart again.
Yeah.
And then we went up to balance and stayed there from that first that scratch new save. So part of the reason why I did so many restarts was fucking about of the difficulty. But you can customize it completely.
Too easy. There wasn't like a.
Well, it felt like I'd cheat. Like it was look, I told you I've saved scum certain bits of it, so that's outright cheating in some people's eyes. But I just couldn't deal with the idea of it being on the lowest difficulty for a part of the game. So I put it on balance to make sure my ego wasn't bruised at the end of 130 hours. And then just
I think that is part of the thing. Like some games, I'm happy to not. Like I'm happy just to get the story. Like some games, I know I don't want the challenge, but there is something about completing a game and not just basically feeling like you've cheated the system wholly by putting it on easy and just sort of strolling through it. You don't feel like you get the full experience. You're not challenged to do certain things, take on certain quests, improve your power. Like you do need that kick up the arse within a game to sort of really go, okay, I need to do that side quest because otherwise I'm gonna, I need the XP or I need the gear or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this one particularly, I was always just mindful of the fact that
you step into the unknown.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's not my typical game in any means that I would usually play. I've got no real background in D&D. It's not my bag essentially, but it's something that reviewed well, that everyone seemed to have loved, and I was like, try and expand my horizons a little bit and play something different. But at the same time, I didn't want to just jump into something by myself where I was like, what on earth is going on here? So I kind of tip my hat to you for doing that, I guess, and going through the pain. Because if we did come back to it at some point and play again, we'd be all going, oh, Joe, what we like basically relying on you to take the lead to a certain extent and be the Hall, guide us through it to a certain point.
Yeah, and I'm happy to do that. I guess.
Well, you say that now, but 20 hours in, you go, I'm really, really, really
I'm struggling with these morons. There is that. But then it's different because I know I've done it. I was like, if this completely crumbles in on itself, I'm not going to be the loser of this.
No harm, no foul.
No harm, no foul. And the way I've thought of it in my head, I was like, I'll just help with whatever. I'm not going to make any choices story-wise. That's left down to who's not played it before. Because you can kind of like vote on the choices and whoever's interacting with the NPC, you can say, Piper says you should use this option, but I won't partake in that. I'll just be interested to see what you clowns get up to.
His ability to make a choice worries me.
Yeah, well, that's what you might have to deal with. But I think it'd be good if you could get the whole party to be human controlled.
Yeah.
Just because then there's no dead wood in the group.
So is that 4? Is it a party of 4?
Yeah. Adkins has bought this, so he's already got it.
Oh, yeah, but then you've got the Chuckle Brothers.
Yeah.
Which is a nightmarish combination.
It'll take a whole year to get through as well, because it'll only be a couple of hours a week, won't it?
Well, it'd have to be. It'd have to be like one of those things where you go...
It'd have to be a proper D&D, like weekly. You just agree doing this time.
Yeah, you'd have to say, I don't know, like Wednesday night, 7 till 10 is like a slot, and we do it. And those 3 hours... is out. But if you imagine that, like 130 hours divided by 3, it'd be insane. I mean, to be fair, that's the approach that we've taken with most of the things that we've played Cartwright. We used to have Sunday morning sessions. We didn't set a time limit. We always used to, it was an 8 o'clock Sunday morning start, right? So we'd tear ourselves out of bed and get on there. I remember there was one morning you'd been out and we were like trying to call you to get you out of bed.
Yeah. Did I get up?
No, you did, but not until I think it was quite a bit later. There was one where you just were non-responsive. Like it's just like you don't. I don't know whether you looked at it or whether you were genuinely non-responsive. But me and James, after about half an hour, went, look, he's obviously. I think we knew you'd been out.
Yeah.
And we were like, look, just call it this week. He's obviously dead.
He's not happy with that.
But it's the way to get things done. A few hours a week, dedicated sessions makes it happen.
I'm pretty sure Hall and Dave did that because they used to always be, I can't play Thursday evenings or whatever the day was because I'm doing Baldur's. Yeah, so it's the only way to do it because it's not a. I mean, you actually can drop in and drop out of it. You know, there's a lead player who's like the host, but as long as they're there, everyone else can their players just stay at camp wandering around. So
Yeah,
it does have that flexibility. If someone flakes out or whatever, you can just carry on. It just means someone's got to pick up the slack in the party management. But yeah, the options. The fact that this game, at least from my perspective, playing it solo and then playing as a 4-player cooperative experience, is that flexible and would work still is quite impressive, and it would still be very good. Like, it'd be excellent still. I think that's something that's very rare. Like solo in Destiny, not really the way to be doing things. Solo in The Division, I don't think is a great experience. But solo in this, I had a really good time. Yes, it was difficult. It was tedious at times. But I loved not every second, but a lot of the game and the just going through the saga. Like the density of the map is amazing. Like the amount of stuff that's packed into this quite, in context, small space, but because they've got, attics to explore, tombs and things underneath. There's levels within levels within levels. Then you have the whole shortcut thing that you think, oh, I've come back round here. Oh, I'm back here. All that stuff's in there as well. Like, so even as a player, it's just running around exploring on their own. There's plenty to do, but then doing it in a group and then battling your way through. No grinding really to worry about. Like I said, there's only 12 levels.
Yeah.
There's no respawning mobs or ads or whatever you want to call them. You don't. Everything's hand. Every enemy, every NPC's hand. Probably wasn't hand. Some sort of assistance, but
I know what you mean.
They're there for a reason, or they're there, and that's the end of it. You don't be just random encountering to level up. It's all the same goes with the gear. I think everything or most of the important stuff in certain chests is always going to be in that chest. So the level of detail and the craftsmanship to do that is impressive, because there's so many games these days. A chest is like a loot box, and it's like you get this or that. This is like, no, that particular sword, which has these buffs and this ability, is only accessible through that chest, and you can miss it quite easily. So yeah, it's got all this great stuff in there that you can experience solo, or assuming, and I guess you can take the wider critical reception cooperatively, so as good, if not better, in certain instances. You probably lose a bit of your personal story because as a group you're doing it, and who's the main character. There's not really a main character, but it kind of makes up for it. Combat will probably be a lot more fun because you can strategize between yourselves, and there will be someone that blows it and get them out. All that sort of stuff that comes into it that you kind of don't have as a solo player. But equally, as a single player experience, an excellent video game. But you have to be warned, this isn't for everyone. You have to trail through a lot of garbage, I think, to get the best out of this. A lot of people will just be turned off by the style of game it is. This isn't the one to introduce you, I don't think, because it doesn't do enough hand-holding.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing to keep an eye on, is that if you've seen all the hype and think, oh, well, I don't really like those games normally, this is one to play with someone that has played before and have them help and just ensure they don't take over the whole party and the choices, let you make your own. But having like some sort of leader there to advise would be useful.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. And one of the things I was thinking was jumping in, like if I could. The thing is there's a delicate balance, because if I jump in with like a Hall and a Dave, I'll be left in the dust as like, and I don't mean that's a discredit to them. Both of them are really helpful, but there's obviously a level of knowledge and experience that's there, and I'm sort of down here being dragged along, like trying to chase my tail a little bit, trying to figure out what's going on to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Whereas I need someone that still remembers what it's like to be at the bottom rung to really kind of help you through and understand it to a certain degree, I think. But yeah, I can completely understand the overwhelming element of the sentiment that you said. I think that, especially doing it solo, I'm sure I'd find it easier going through it with you, and also just having to really ultimately worry about myself. Mainly, and not have to figure out all the other stuff that's kind of going on in the background and concern myself with it.
Even though this is far more complex than a standard JRPG in terms of party management, it just is. Still, having gone through those games, the personas and what, at least it was like I'd had the training wheels on. I was like, oh, I understand that I've got to keep on top of these and try my best to work out how best to utilize them, etc., etc. And you can make it easy for yourself. Have that, no, right? Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't have that, then that's just going to be tricky solo, I think. So
yeah, I mean, I absolutely, I mean, I would use the word barebacking. Like, I don't think barebacking this on my own is the way to do it. I don't think I'd get anything out of that. I think I'd try and go, I don't know what's going on here, and end up not playing it, and that's not ideal, right?
No, not on any stretch of the imagination.
Right, shall we move onward to Lord Gallery?
Yep, let's do it.
Right, well, I mean, I'll be honest, be very surprised if this ain't going in the gallery somewhere. I think it's just a case of where it goes. If you come in here and go, no, we're putting that in self-storage, I'd be asking some questions. So
yeah,
I think we're going in. I think we're going into the gallery. I think the real question is probably, how high does this go? Because a lot of the critical acclaim went very high indeed, if I remember rightly, for this game. So
sitting on a 96 on OpenCritic.
I mean, it's basically in platinum territories.
Yeah.
So that's the pressure you're dealing with.
Yeah, it's knocking on the door of platinum for sure, but there's just a bit too much resistance, I think, for a new player jumping in. Yeah. And this is my experience now. I'm not talking about it. Like, it was hard to get into. And then throughout, like I said, there are just some irritances. You can love or hate dice rolls and whatnot. It's one of those things. It's great when it goes your way, but as soon as it doesn't, it becomes the worst mechanic ever made. Yeah. And you're like, why is the game fucking with me? Like, it's cheating. Is it cheating? This is the only other thing. Because it's done by a computer, I don't trust it. I know in my hand when I drop that dice, it is what it is. These games,
true RNG.
What's going on under the hood? What's it tracking? And going, oh, we'll do this. But yeah, it's a gold for me. I think it. I mean, the sheer length of it. I mean, that is a fucking long game as well.
Oh yeah,
it didn't have to be that long, but on the end of it, I was like, I did have 4 crashes. It does run like a pig in one of the zones, but it does have some. It is an excellently crafted game, and just. Yeah, I understand all the accolades for it. I'm sort of there with it. It's just my experience was slightly different and hampered by the early resistance or difficulty that I was encountering. And not being... This is more of a Ronnieism, but I still think the game is sometimes, said, a bit too unforgiving. I mean, you can't just play it for Bono naturally and go, oh, I'll just go into this encounter and win, because you probably won't win. And if you know that outcome X leads to a combat encounter that's really hard or not manageable because you're not prepared for it, what do? Do you then go back to camp, reset, reload? Then at that point, you're already bastardizing the natural playthrough because you've gone back and reset yourself, or do you just choose the other option? So there are some contradictions and some tensions between... I just like to play through stuff and just live and die by what happens, but you die so much by doing something that's ill-advised that you're then back to square one, and you're like, there's a better approach there. So I don't know if there's any solution to that in any game that relies on decision making and somewhat tricky combat, but that's always going to get my goat if I've run into that a few times during a playthrough. And I did run into that quite a few times. So, but it's excellent. Like I said, the world design, the characters, the narrative, the story, the voice acting, the music, the nature of the game being everything's deliberately placed. It's not just spawns of enemies and regurgitation of mobs and things like that. It's like you clear out a camp, it stays cleared, you reap the rewards of what loot is in there. It'd be interesting to see what I'm like with, because now I'm on board. I'm like, well, Divinity will be out in 3, 4, 5 years. Like, going back into a game like this and dealing with that, now that I've kind of got my feet wet, will I have as much resistance or difficulty, or will I be better prepared? Will the transition away from D&D rule set into a video game into something built for the video game audience be easier to manage? These are all sort of interested questions I have, but we won't find out for many years. But yeah, excellent game overall. A few caveats, not for everyone. So don't be believing that you can just sit down and play this willy-nilly. because it will hit you hard.
Kick you in the nuts.
Yeah. What's that? Any other queries?
Don't know really. It's all gone through the ear rolls. Yeah, I mean, I think the point around. I always wondered, basically, with those critical reviews. I always did wonder whether it was because it was people that played and loved that world were then playing this, and then just sort of went, oh. And I didn't go through them with a fine tooth comb, but I did always wonder how that might be different if I would have played and reviewed it, or if but surely that would have come out in the aggregate score as well, if that makes sense. Like, surely not all of those people that reviewed it were D&D nerds, if you like, or into that kind of ecosystem and world.
No, I think there's a little bit of bias because, again, you don't just give a tactical RPG to the guy who plays FIFA. So there's and we know this happens in most outlets, is that you have your specialists in certain pockets, so they can, on one hand, they can say, yes, this is a great version of this genre of game, and on the other hand, they're already allowing certain negatives just to be baked in because that's how those games play. So you're always we have this with the From Software games all the time, and it's one of those kind of pitfalls. But I absolutely see where that comes from, because just so many other games don't get close to the standard being set here in so many areas, like narrative wise, world building wise, character wise. There's just so much to love about it that sure, you might have a few frustrating niggles with it or annoyances, but ultimately when you sit back and go, cool, 100 odd hours, did I enjoy that? And it's like, yeah, I did. So
can't ask for much more than that at the end of the day.
No, exactly. That's Baldur's Gate 3 done in the books, as we say. Gold. Maybe we'll return in 2 years' time with a full multiplayer review where we've gone through a campaign ourselves.
It would be good, I think, to do that. I would be particularly interested in like the parallel between your experience playing it solo versus playing it multiplayer. I think that's a good thing to get.
Yeah.
Because as you say, you'll lose some things and gain some others, and then on the balance, was that better or worse?
Yeah. I think I won't have to have a pure experience now, so I'm going to be much more blasé about what's going on. You know? And because I don't want to engage in make any decisions, it'd be just interesting to observe and be like, that's going to cost us, but let it slide.
That's true, actually, because I suppose you've kind of got a view into what will happen in certain, are we going to get... And obviously you'd probably be curious as well, perhaps for some of the decisions that you didn't take, how that would kind of play out in this one. So... Yeah,
I mean, the beauty of that save system actually means you can do a lot of that experimentation in game. There's definitely a few times where I was like, I'm doing this one, and I'd save it afterwards, like once the choice had been made, and then I'd load back up and just go, let's just see the immediate aftermath of this. Because actually, I was playing as a paladin, and they have like an oath towards. It's a bit ambiguous nowadays with the rule set, but essentially, protect the innocent. Morally, there's a line which you should fall into, which is on the good side. And actually, there's an oathbreaker arc in this, that if you do something in game that's deemed, morally bad, the oathbreaker will visit you, and your class changes into an oathbreaker rather than an oath of devotion. I think was what it was. So that's actually a useful tool, because I wanted some framework. That's why I chose the paladin, to stay on the good side of things, and that was a really useful. He rocked up once, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I knew that I was pushing my luck there, but okay, I'll go back and choose the other one, because I wanted to role play the good side of things. Having that there was useful to have, but I do recommend people just do what they want to do, and if you ends up you break the oath, then you go for it. But
so be it.
Royland was going to be a good boy, whatever happened. So he was.
Fair enough.
But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 gold. Whether we'll be back with it or not in the future, who knows? It'll take a lot of organisation and commitment, but I think it'll be a good experience one day for us all to do it.
Yeah.
I've got to deal with Hall's real life D&D stuff he keeps chucking out there. So 10 beers, that'll do me. Thank you very much.
See how it descends.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I think that's it. Baldur's Gate Gold, or Baldur's Gate 3 Gold. No background on the other 2 games, as I said. Jumped into this. Narrative-wise, I should say this, you're not going to miss much by not playing the other 2 games. There's a little bit of referencing, but it's set several hundred years after the first game and 100 or so after the second, so don't be put off by the 3, but as usual, there's stuff in there. If you know, then you know. But there are plenty of story recaps of those games, which is what I did to get up to speed. But a gold for Baldur's Gate 3 on PS5 Pro, so not even on the PC. Did it lose out on its platinum because of the controller? We'll see. Anyway, enough waffling. We'll bid everyone adieu, and we'll see you on the other side. Valiant Hearts coming home again. This time it's Logan copying me. Why has this happened?
I forgot about it, didn't I?
Yeah.
I forgot about it. So when we discussed it, I felt bad, to be honest, that I hadn't
It's
seen the
their
whole
fault for
thing
putting it on
through.
fucking Netflix first or whatever it was. It was mobile only for it. It's like, we play silly bollocks, you get forgotten.
I don't know why they've done that.
Well, I do. Cash.
Well, yeah, Ubisoft wanted it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, all right, and I really did like the first one.
Right.
Like, there was something refreshingly. It wasn't a challenging game, the first one. It's more just like you were playing through this sort of like story arc of World War One, which I found really interesting. And I thought it was cleverly done in the way that they weaved it together and everything. So I really liked the first one. So I was like, I should really play through this second one. Usually quite a harmless thing to do. So I was like, why don't we do that then? It was on offer on Steam as well. I think it was about £6 on Steam. I was like, all right, why not? We'll do that. Right. I was basically waiting. I've been ticking over some time until that Battlefield come out, and I was like, this feels like a good one to just slot in there nicely.
Yep.
Until I get to play that, which is why it cropped up. But yeah, I did feel bad after we talked about it. I was like, kind of feel like I should go and play through that, so I did.
So, how did you get through this in one sitting? A couple of sittings? Did you spread it out? Was you doing a chapter and then bidding it? What was the play style for? Because it's not a particularly long game, from my relatively poor memory.
It's actually shorter than I thought it would be, and that's one of the things.
£6 worth.
Well, that's one of the things that actually kind of surprised me. I mean, I did it in basically 2 sit-ins, and it could have been done really in one, I suppose. I mean, I'm just having a look now to see how long it took me, but for some reason Steam doesn't make that. Oh, here we go. Yeah, 4.5 hours playtime.
All right, yeah.
And I've just realised as well I've only. Right, I might have to go back to it. I've got 23 out of 24 achievements.
Oh, would you trying to get it all or not? No.
I mean, when I go through it, I like to collect all the.
Yeah, but you're not going to pull up
stuff.
a guide to make sure you don't miss anything. If you miss it, you miss it. Like, it is what it is. But you'll try and search out. So,
yeah, and it's not hard. I mean, I got all of them. I did this in one playthrough, but I've missed one, which is to complete one music mission without missing a note.
Oh yeah,
which is it's doable.
Oh yeah,
so that might have to get installed. But yeah, basically, I was like, I'll do that 2 evenings or whatever it is, a couple of hours, 2 evenings, and yeah, got it done. But yeah, it was, for some reason it felt shorter than that. I don't know whether that's a compliment or not. It did feel short.
Yeah.
But I can't remember how long the first one is. Maybe I've just distorted.
Yeah, it's pretty short as well. I don't think it was particularly long.
No, well, no. I mean, both of them are I would expect shorter style games, but yeah, to be honest, I probably spent an hour of that fanning around. An hour is probably generous. Maybe half of that, half an hour looking for objects. So I did scour the gaff when I was going after them. So it's probably 4 hours, I reckon. Probably less than that if you just blitzed through it.
Yeah, it's you don't want it to be too long. It doesn't need 15 hours.
I spent longer than that trying to get into Ubisoft Connect when I fucking downloaded it. So
where'd you get it from? Steam?
Yeah.
So why have you got to do Ubisoft Connect?
Literally wouldn't. I assume because it saves it to the cloud. But it made me it downloaded and made me log into Ubisoft Connect before I could boot the game up.
I don't mind
which I've never
what
had.
I do mind is people selectively being outraged when it happens. I think when Helldivers came out, people cried about PlayStation asking people to connect to PSN. And it was a fucking review bot. And there's this going on for no disrespect to Valiant Hearts, but it's fucking Valiant Hearts. Why's that got to be logged in for?
I never log into Ubisoft Connect. I've got no interest in it. So I had to go through the whole rigmarole figuring out what fucking email address it was and passwords. I was like, what are we doing? Why do I? To your first point, why do I need to do this for this?
Yeah.
It seemed a bit unnecessary, but yeah, it's only it's really short little game, which is fine. Like, I wouldn't really want it to be any longer.
Yeah. No.
Where it starts becoming self-indulgent, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like some other games we discuss. So this is it's still based on World War One, isn't it? If I remember correctly. I've lost all memory of the game, which I don't know. It tells a good picture, but it ain't been that long since
I feel like they break it, and I can't really remember. I feel like the first one is kind of like it all kicking off.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of like the middle to back end of it.
Coming home, yeah. It's getting through
which feels a really reductive way of breaking that whole fucking thing down, really. It's, 2 parts, really. It started and then it ended. Like, it's a bit of a... I don't know, in my head, I was thinking this should be a trilogy, really, where you've kind of got...
I'm surprised it even got a sequel.
Yeah.
To be honest, I like the first one, but I really was shocked to see this even popping up all those years ago. I was like, what the... Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people must have enjoyed it, otherwise they wouldn't have done a second one, but it just felt like a really... I don't know. The story in it as well was a bit... there's a different ways of cutting this up, but I would have liked it didn't feel as good as the first one to me, and that's a very reductive way of immediately coming into it. But
too much focus on racism. You didn't like it.
Well, this is where it gets controversial, and this doesn't get aired, right? But I kind of feel like they had a narrative that they maybe want. Or narrative is probably the wrong word. They had a story they wanted to tell, and this I feel like they built the game around that. I think it basically it didn't feel like it was I feel like the first one was focused on the war and the horror of like the war itself, whereas this was more around obviously the dynamic in the US at the time and segregation and things like that. And I was like, yeah, okay, but I was just a bit. No, not that it's like okay, but I was like, yeah, everyone knows this was there.
I remember we spoke about this. I was actually in because I completely not even thought about that being a thing, and it was interesting to see this game bring it to light. Now, maybe because you knew that because I told you, the cat was out of the bag again.
I'd forgotten.
Right.
No,
okay.
so I was just a bit like, okay. Like, I think that it just felt a bit off, where it didn't feel like a natural sequel. Does that make sense? Like, I'd had an expectation of how they developed the first one, and all of a sudden you kind of dumped into this kind of remembrance of racism that occurred 100 years ago. And I was like, and there's a part of me that goes, and I do still to this day kind of forget that up until the 60s or whatever it is, or at least the 50s, there was some form of segregation in the US, right? Like that, which isn't the case of what happened in Europe. Like, it was a different dynamic in the US to what it was.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't know, for example, that they had a separate and I knew the term Harlem Hellfires. Like that was something where I was like, oh, I recognise that as a term, like
Yeah.
which was what they were coined in the end. This brigade. But yeah, I just kind of felt like shoehorned is probably the wrong word, but I don't know. I was trying to figure out how that dynamic and segregation played into like the bigger picture of the narrative arc they were trying to tell, right? Because there's other characters that come into it. And story arcs, and I was like, how is that all knitting together? And I think I was just left a bit like, okay, I wouldn't say confused is the wrong word, but I feel like they're just not, they don't weave together naturally.
He wants segregation back, what you're saying. He wants segregation of stories now. So that's not going to go down well, is it?
I feel like they've tried. The problem is if they told them as separate stories, it wouldn't be a problem, but they tried to weave it all together.
Yeah, I didn't like the fact the guy was, I can't remember his name now, the chap whose eyes you kind of view a lot of the war through, the one who's in the Harlem Hellfires, was the brother of someone from the first season, the first game. I don't like these conveniences in games. Like, did he have to be his brother? Yeah. I don't think so. It could have just been a mate or another bloke. That sort of stuff winds me up because I'm like, well, what are the chances of that? Probably quite high, I suppose, if you're going to war. But
it was just, I think broadly, I was like, okay, well, if you're trying to tell this sort of story of the Harlem Hellfires, then tell me the story of the Harlem Hellfires. Like that, it felt like that could have just been the focus, like in the time in the trenches and stuff. And yeah, sorry, I was trying to get my train of thought. So it felt like they could have just told that.
I distracted you.
But then
that'll sound good on audio.
You kind of had that nice little break. Then you kind of had this arc with a pilot, and then which we'll get into.
Yeah.
And then you had this arc with Ernst, who's like a German, and that again, like it took me a minute. I was like, okay, what are we doing with Ernst? And it took me a minute to realise he was German. Like I just feel like there was things throughout it where everything was just kind of a bit piecemeal and not clearly linked. As I say, they kind of dump you into this. It's almost immediately into this whole sort of issue around like the segregation of the black fighters from the white, and like they kind of immediately dump you in that. So you go, okay, this is what we're doing. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then you're sort of then in the air. You're in there's just a lot going on in 4 hours that I feel like isn't
nothing gets explored deep enough.
Yeah. It's kind of all just sort of. And then you've got Anna, who's a medic, and you're going around doing medic. Do you see what I mean? You're kind of doing 4 different things, 4-hour game.
Yeah.
Like you think, okay, well that's better. But then I just feel like they could have explored things a bit better. Like I wanted to get invested in the Harlem Hellfires. I wanted to get invested in Anna.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to get invested in them, but you don't spend long enough with them to then get invested in them, which is what I feel like the game did well the first time round, is that you kind of felt invested, or I remember feeling invested, should I say. And I just felt I didn't in this one.
No. Yeah. I think I had a problem, I don't know if you felt this as well, because it's so long between playing the game, like the original and then the second one. Like you said with Ernst and Anna, I still to this day can't remember what even happened in the first game. And I don't know if it goes as far as assumes knowledge of the first game, but certainly there's an expectation that you understand part of the first game, because it does just chuck you in the middle of the war for one, and those other guys, whether it's James's brother, his name now escapes me, like
Freddie.
Freddie. You don't have that understand, and I didn't, because it'd been so long. So even having played the game, I still came and was like, "What the fuck happened with Ernst? What's I don't."
Yeah, I mean, I recognised like there was
that's it.
I was like, my brain recognises, but
so
I don't remember what your
Whoever created those
is.
characters, you've imprinted them into our minds, but
because that would have been. I'm trying to think. I would have played that. I mean, I was in my first flat, so we're talking 2017, maybe even before, slightly after, but sort of that sort of time. So we're talking maybe 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And you're asking a lot. I mean, obviously this game
Came out in
didn't come out.
2014, so it's over a decade old. I mean, I think I played it shortly after that.
Yeah.
I don't think I waited around.
But I don't know. Like, I'm trying to. When did this actually come out?
Well, this is the thing. Yeah, because of that horse shit they came out with.
2023.
Yeah.
Right?
But
So we're talking 9 years. But when was it on Steam?
From release.
Store page.
Initial release date 2023.
2024. So this has only been on Steam.
Because it was mobile
just over
first,
a year.
wasn't it? That Twitter.
So yeah, I think you're asking a lot to not put any kind of like a 30-second. This is what happened. Yeah. Do you want to play it? Do you want me to? Do you want a reminder? Yes.
Yeah. Yes, please. I'll always take that.
Something like that would have been nice. So yeah, I was kind of going through it, and I'm going, okay, I'm trying to remember where the characters are. You kind of dumped immediately into this. It doesn't feel like it starts naturally. I think is the problem. It's sort of like it goes doof, and you go, okay, well, what are we doing here then, sort of thing. And yeah, then it sort of as it weaves the story or tries to weave through the story, it doesn't feel very natural, and it every time I'm sort of like, okay, I'm just someone else now. Like, do you know what I mean? And then I sort of have to shift my mindset into doing something with them.
Yeah,
it just feels like a lot of different things put together, not very well. Broadly, is kind of where I feel like it is. And there's some just weird bullshit in it as well. I'm not going to go on to the flying stuff yet, but like the music stuff is odd to me as well. I'm like, why am I doing really basic A, Y, and B pressing?
Well, it wasn't that basic because you made a mistake and didn't get the achievement. So
right, so it normally when the circle goes over the button, that's when you press. But that wasn't in sync with the music.
No, well, okay.
It wasn't in sync with the beats and the music, so I'm trying to do it in sync with the beats and the music, because that's how they fucking normally do it. And this is like, no, it's just doing it separate to the beat of the music, which I was like, okay. And I actually sussed it out a little bit in the end, but I did get lazy with it because I fucking hated it. I was like, this just feels awful. Like, what are we doing? There were some bits I liked. There were some sort of basic puzzle bits that, again, you have kind of no real fail safe on, but you have to kind of figure out what goes where and in what order.
Yeah.
A very basic kind of interactive state. And yeah, you go around looking for your little objects. And I like the history behind it. Like, it's one of my favourite things about this is that I like that it brings to light some of the real shit parts that must have been there in the war that I think a lot of people forget. Like, one of the things that I found interesting is right at the end of it, you go around, it's like, right, clear this place up.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd never even given any thought to like, what, you just didn't just, like, someone blew a whistle, went, right, that's it, lads, treaty signed. What, did you just grab your bag and, like, at the end of the day at work and just go, see you tomorrow? Like, it was one of those things just like, no, there's a load of people that had to fucking try and clear that mess up, which must have been fucking horrendous. But I like those aspects. But yeah, I would say broadly I had a bit of a struggle throughout with the way that the stories were weaved together.
Yeah. I kind of get that. Like I say, I think part of it's the lack of continuity. Well, there is continuity, but the lack of giving us the background, at least, as a primer to be invested, and there's probably a bit too much going on.
It would have helped, I think. It would have helped. But yeah, I mean, I think there's, I actually quite enjoyed the Anna bits, going through as a medic and stuff, and learning that they use radiography in World War One. Didn't know that. So again, the bits that I liked most were just the bits where I was actually actively kind of learning stuff. And I actually think this game is kind of at its best, and I feel like that's what Valiant Hearts, the original, did well. Was, it's almost like an interactive encyclopedia, right? Where you're not. I didn't expect to be hugely challenged by complex game mechanics or anything like that. But the thing that I liked mainly about the first one from memory all those years ago was I was invested in the character and the story, and I liked the historical sort of
Nuggets.
element to it, the nuggets that they put in there.
As long as it's not about segregation. Yeah.
Well, I'm fine with that. It was just sort of like a weird thing to immediately dump me in. I was like, right, I just didn't expect that to be kind of like the immediate topic I'm dealing with. Like,
get it out there, rip the band-aid off, plaster, what they call it.
I was like, right, okay.
What the fuck's shit term?
Band-aid. Yeah.
Fucking plaster. All right.
But the part of the problem was I didn't know originally that there was a relation to between James and Freddie, and that there was continuity from Freddie to the original, right? So I was kind of like, why are we immediately dumping it? But that must have been how the story was of James getting into the war, right?
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
And this is what I mean. Like, it's not very well prescribed, I think, at the time necessarily. But yeah, so I kind of had a broad issue with the weaving of the story and the telling of it, which is a bit of a problem, I would say, for this. And then on top of that, what are we doing with this fucking piloting piece, by the way? What are we doing? I just don't... there was the reason why, or one of the reasons why. So when I started doing... There's a particular part that you get to where it becomes... I don't want to say difficult, because that is unfair.
But it's got a fail state that seems more egregious than anywhere else in the game.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, hang on, I don't need to be challenged. Like, what's going on? I've got to do this. Hello?
Yeah, that's that. It kind of just chucks all sorts of shit at you out of nowhere. And again, it's like, I had to turn it off because I was like, I weren't ready for this. I had to have an hour break. Because I was like, I think I failed it twice, and I remember sitting there just going, why am I fail stating in this game? This isn't a game. Checked. Yeah, I was like, I had to go away, and I was like, and it actually was annoying me. Well, I literally had to. I'm gonna make a cup of tea, and I was like, right, and I was playing something else, and it was playing on my mind. I was like, what have you done there? You have sat there, and you're telling me that you're stuck on Valiant Hearts. Like, what are you doing? Yep. And I was like, no, I'm going to go back and do this. And I was like, I just need to learn the pattern. So yeah, I went back and I kind of learned the pattern. And I think, but I must have failed it even when I went back to it another 2 or 3 times before I did it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well now I know to look out for that lightning and stuff. Like, now I know that where it's going to, it becomes doable. But again, compared to any other aspect of the game, like, there isn't that level of egregious fail state. Like, it's just completely randomly out there on its own.
Yeah.
I was just a bit weirded out by that. And then there's obviously a part that leads up to that as well, where there's a real basic element of stealth. And I was again like, that whole mission confused me. I genuinely, in that chapter, act, whatever they call it, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand why I was following the person I was following and for what reason and where. Like, I just knew that this is what I was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just a bit of a mess, I think, in a lot of ways. Like, I expected something a little bit, broadly speaking, better knitted together, because I liked Valiant Hearts so much. Yeah, I kind of expected a similar, if not better, version this time round. And yeah, the whole thing just was a bit
not up to snuff.
Okay, yeah. And I wonder if I've sort of tried to reflect on it, and I'm like, okay, is some of that because of what it was released for? Like,
well, that's what I was going to ask you. Did you sniff out any mobile restraints, or we're trying to pin blame on it now and give it excuses, but did that hamper it in some way, that it was designed initially as a OlliOlli style game?
Well, I was thinking about, when I was doing that, those piloting missions, I was thinking, can you imagine trying to do that on your TV? Like, how on earth does that translate through? And the one thing that I did sort of think about that was like the musical and the pressing the buttons and stuff. I was like, okay, that feels touch screen kind of friendly. But yeah, it just didn't. I think broadly, it just felt like it had been diluted a bit for for where they were going to put it. It didn't feel, natively. It didn't feel natural for like that to be a console or PC game specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably, it still did what they probably wanted to. They still told the story arcs it wanted to tell and stuff.
Yeah.
I'd have just liked it to have gone up a notch, but it feels like it probably just dumbed it down a notch rather than up in terms of what it was doing, and that probably contributed to the fact that it was playable for a bloody streaming service.
Yep, no doubt, no doubt. Well, any other business for Valiant Hearts coming home? Seems like it's had a fairly. I mean, I was promised 1 minute, 5 minutes is what I was promised max.
Well, I got annoyed by the storyline, and I got annoyed by the. I wouldn't say that the storyline itself didn't annoy me. The weaving of the storyline annoyed me.
Yeah, it's hard to follow in it sometimes. It's like.
Well, it's just sort of chucks you between characters randomly without any kind of real continuity.
But the diaries. Come on.
Yeah,
not
not doing that. Yeah, and then some of the missions were just a little bit like, what are we doing here? And again, that kind of fail state mode. I was just like, that's not what I wanted from this. No. But yeah, nothing else to really say about it. I think we've kicked it enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the formalities then. Gaming gallery, lurking. There's options for self-storage. There's options to award the game a platinum, gold, silver or bronze, but it has to at least earn itself a spot in there and avoid self-storage. So that's the first question. We're going on a flow chart because if it goes to no, we can end the fucking segment. So Valiant Hearts coming home, originally mobile Netflix style, then ported to consoles and PC nearly a decade after the original. Does coming home earn itself a spot in the Dimp digital gaming gallery?
No.
Oh, we're not going to get a third one then, are we? If its biggest fan can't even put it in the gallery. Valiant Hearts coming home shocked into self-storage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's not happy with this segregation, is he?
I'm fine with that story.
You don't like
the story arc. I actually found
he's trying to recover it, saying he didn't do it
interesting.
justice of it, trying to play that card. But we all know what he's up to. He's got his Union Jacks out. God knows what's blurred off in the background. That picture, that could be anyone, someone nefarious.
Lord Gareth,
Nigel,
Lord Gareth.
Bale, is it?
Yeah, Gareth from Van der Vaart. Yeah.
Glory days.
Yeah,
but they couldn't get a Europa title under their belt.
No, they couldn't. Maybe
Bish will argue that that's the
Ange.
greatest team they've ever produced. That Ange put together.
Honestly, it's one of the biggest tragedies ever. That the team I look back we had then, which was like Modric, Bale, Van der Vaart, like you name it, and I'm like, how did we fail?
But they were playing in the top European league, the Champions League.
I mean, we had Champions League. Yeah,
that toot that you've got now that's being lauded around.
We weren't playing in the top tier. Yeah, I mean, but we should have won a domestic cup or something then. Spurs.
Yeah, I mean,
the fact that they literally just did nothing, like didn't even really, that I recall, get even that close under Harry was a travesty. But yeah, I just think with this, I was expecting a bit more. I think broadly, and I think the stuff I really just felt like they could have done a much better job of telling. Like I want to be invested in the characters, and I just didn't feel I was.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like there was much. They didn't build the characters for me well enough, and yeah, the sort of interactive elements of the game just weren't that interesting. In this day and age, I don't know. As I say, like you kind of expect in 10 years, especially, and it has to be taken with the context of this is from Ubisoft.
Yeah,
It's not like it's from any old Joe that's doing it. It's from a reasonably big studio with some money. They could have took it, I think, to the next level to tell the stories they wanted to tell. Even if they'd just kind of kept it to where the other one was, I'd have kind of been fine with it. But yeah, I just think in 2024, when this game was released, you wanted a bit more from it. I found it okay to play through. I mean, I completed it. As we've said before, I'm quite happy to bin stuff if it doesn't meet the grade. So, it was meeting acceptability criteria. I was just left a bit like, at the end of it, I was like, there are a few little bits in there that I quite liked, but just wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, it kind of is what
Where
it is.
Where did you put it? Did it get in bronze for you?
Bronze, yeah. So
I don't think that's unfair. Like,
no, it's not. But it's not a resounding success. Like
I would say, like, if a bronze in the world of gradings was like a 7,
yeah,
like I would say this for me
is like numbers.
We don't like numbers, but I'd say it's just to give.
You don't like
context.
10-point scales, so you should be doing that down to 5 stars and figuring it out from there.
If it was a 5-star system, it would probably get 3, maybe 2.5 if we allow them.
See, I think everything should be just full stars or no stars, but
yeah, I know you don't like the half system.
Otherwise, you might as well do 10 points.
10. Yeah.
Anyway,
but yeah,
that's why we've got platinum, gold,
okay.
silver, bronze. Better.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Playable, just a little.
There's something there, but it's not the highs of the. It might be again. Because we've had the first one, it's not as original. I think there is an element of not fatigue, but you kind of understand that it's not as unique as it. And since then, imagine the amount of palette cleansers that have come down the pike since then, like hundreds of palette cleansers. And whilst they don't necessarily look or tackle the same subject, it does go in. It is a palette cleanser game, sub 5 hours, 5 hours tops. Yeah. Like. You were going to have played a lot of these over the years that may have done a better job. So
it just needs a bit more something. Like even if they had like proper voice acting that could really get across some of the story or something, but it just feels very like bottom rung of a lot of things. Yeah. And what I really just wanted to do is really focus on that, make me care about that arc. And I don't think they told that very well.
No,
particularly.
Crapped on it, but that's fair. It happens sometimes. Valiant Hearts Coming Home earns itself a lovely space in the self-storage, so not in the gallery for here, but if you look around my wing, you'll find it in the bronze category, so have a little wander around and see what you think. But a harmless game, but perhaps could have done, as we said, could have done more. And that'll do for this segment, I think. Valiant Hearts, the Great War. I'm kind of glad not the Great War, Coming Home. I'm glad you went and played it, because I too had forgotten about this as a sequel, and at least that book's closed now on Valiant. I would imagine that's it, but if they bought a third one, I'd absolutely look at it, I think, just to see. But this World War One arc is done for us.
I'd be interested if they did like one that was sort of focused on like a different portion of World War II or something. Like, I think what they do well is they seem to bring up bits that are less kind of well known and shine a light on them, which I quite like, because most people know broadly what was going on in both the wars, but there are obviously little things that were going on throughout that you may not have thought about, paid attention to, or known. And I quite like that they do that. But yeah, I don't know how different it would be doing like a World War II one from a World War. Like, I think the most important thing is that story arc. Like, what are the elements of the story that you're trying to tell, and how do they weave together? If they do that well enough, it would be good. It'd meet the criteria. But just getting loads of different things and trying to chuck them together in a ball doesn't really work that well for me in this one.
No, fair enough. Anyway, self-storage for Valiant Hearts Coming Home. And we'll bid everyone adieu. And as usual, we'll see you on the other side. Adkins. OlliOlli World Rad Edition.
Radical,
2D
man.
skateboarding platforming game.
2.5.
Oh, all right.
2.2. I'd go.
2.2 out of 3.
There's
He's
some
given it.
on some of the routes you can take what they call a gnarly route. That's it. Spelled with a G. Gnarly route, and
Right.
that sort of it's not 2D. It sort of comes out. It's not fully. So the game's not fully 2.5. It just comes out a little bit. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna say 2.2 or 2.3.
2.2 out of 3.
Yeah.
So this is the
Yeah.
rad edition. So this is OlliOlli World, but the rad edition is like
Yep.
the complete edition with
Yes, it's
DLCs
complete.
and
There
bits
was
and pieces like that.
two DLC sections, I think, and then there's a lot of cosmetics in this game, which is essentially what you're playing it for. This is a 2D platform. I'll tell you what it reminded me of. Obviously, there's links to Skate and Tony Hawk's. But the sort of challenge of this game reminded me a lot of like Trials.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So basically the story is that you go to this planet and there are 5 wizards, they're called skate wizards,
Right.
and they each have an area in this world called Hollywood. I think no, not called Hollywood. What's it called? Skate Varna, something like that.
Right.
And you have to complete the 5 areas of these wizards to become the skate god. And that's how you get through it. And then so each area has the like this winding path that you go through, a bit like a sort of Mario world where you sort of go through the world and you've got each stop. That is a section and that is a level that you go through, and your challenge is to get through that level from one goal to the next, getting as many points as you can by getting through the level, just A to B, and by doing sort of tricks and grinding, and pretty much every 2 levels a new aspect to the game you've introduced. So you've got like start off from the first bit, be grinding, then manualing, then wall riding, all that sort of stuff, and then it's sort of towards the back end of it, it's sort of you just there's some of the stuff you're doing, you're just like, how have I become this good at doing it? It makes you feel like you're quality, but then when you look at your stats, you're like, cool, no, I really ain't, am I? Bit like, like when you was playing Trials, you sort of, by the time you got confident to do, what was those fucking levels called that were like the daddy levels?
Oh, the
remember
what they called, like the extreme ones.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, dirty bastards.
There's like a little
Pee-wee
bit
Platinum's one of them. Fishy
that's
business.
Unbelievable.
That's no faults, and in the time, it's fucking real.
That's unbelievable. I think he'd probably like if he's into skateboarding. But yes, it just feels, the actual gameplay of this feels amazing for a 2D, like indie game basically.
2D tutor, yeah.
2D tutor, yeah. It sort of blew me away by surprise. Again, it's just one of those ones I sort of heard of. I think people had said like, oh yeah, it's a bit like in the same sort of ilk as like Guacamelee or something like that. That sort of 2D side scroller thing. You think, oh, that'd be quite good. And I thought, oh, that'll fit the. I think I might have even Googled and said like what games are good on the Steam Deck.
Yes.
And people said like this sort of game, and it really does fit that sort of handheld, because much like Trials, you can just jump on, play a few levels, hop off, and come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is one I've just sort of been chipping away at.
Is it one you had before and didn't play, or did you buy it recently?
No, I've had it. I think I've had it a couple of years. I'm just going to get my Steam stats up and see if I can.
I've got them here. Overall, 10.4 hours, but then recently, last couple of weeks, 6.2 hours.
Right. Okay. And did it say when I start? What was my first achievement? 24 Jan. There we go. That's what stopped me playing Rebirth. It's another 2-year hiatus.
You come back to it.
So I've come back to it. Oh no. Yeah. Yeah. It is a 2-year
2024,
hiatus. Yeah. Jan and then February. 2 years and 1 month. I've come back. So I remember. Yeah. I think must have been when I got that Steam Deck. I just bought a load of sort of these type of games. I still got shitloads on here.
Yeah.
I think like what was that game I played last year? Was it Brothers? Do you remember I said
Right,
about
yeah.
that one? Yeah. So it's,
Yeah.
I think I bought a boatload of those type of games, and yeah, this one is sort of like I remember just playing it, thinking, oh, that was better than I expected. I sort of thought it'd be one of those ones, pick it up, play it for an hour, and go, yeah. But yeah, this one I sort of thought, no, I must get back to that because it's very enjoyable, and yeah, so yeah, picked it back up again in this little section I played between Rebirth and Resident Evil. And yeah, managed to get it done. Again, it's another sort of short thing. I think how long to beat at it at like 5-6 hours,
Yeah.
something like that. But I managed to go through the DLC as well, and it's basically just extra, more levels basically, but with different new attributes. There's one that's called the Void Riders, and that basically has like a UFO in each level with like a tractor beam on it. And when you go through that, you have to do like a trick through it to then, and that lifts you up. So it's like I say, it can get a bit what's the word? Too convoluted. Like with how like this is definitely one of those games. I think because you can go and play any level any time. Where I had the two-year gap going back into it,
Right.
I was a bit like, fucking hell, what am I doing here? So I could just go back to the original, and then it's very easy to pick up, hard to master.
Yeah.
So like it's hard to be good at it. You start like, but it's again, I only played it over the course of a couple of days, 2-3 days, I think, and managed to smash it out. But in that time, I started to get more confident, and then each level, I think much like Trials, you've got like challenges you can do. So there's one, each level has like a checkpoint to get through. So there's then the next challenge is to get through every level without having to use the checkpoint, so don't fall off your skateboard. So I started doing that. And then there's other challenges. There's side quests in the game, like each level will have like random animals or smash this piece of glass as you go through it in each level. And there's a lot of replayability on each of these levels. But yeah, it's just sort of, it just changes it up, like all the different levels, the different environments of, like I say, there's about 5, I think there's 5 zones, and they're all sort of different biomes. And then they start adding in each thing adds a new mechanic into it. Like I say, first to be the manuals, then the wall riding, the UFO, all that sort of. Then there's a score thing. There's like a tournament where you have to sort of knock out the other people. You have to do it in a certain time. There's time limits, and it really did have this sort of Trials. Don't know what else to. It is just sort of, it's as if like a 2D Tony Hawk's with trial system is basically.
Interesting. How much of these challenges do you need to do to get through it? Like all of them?
Not at all.
Or
You just have to. No, you can literally get through by just completing the level, getting from one side to the other. Yeah. The DLC required you had to find golden tickets, so you had to get a certain amount. There was a couple of challenges like that you had to meet to get through, but I'd say about 98% of it, the objective is just to get from one side to the other, and that obviously becomes more difficult the further you get through, the more challenges. But like I said at the beginning, this game it's like what they call Bloodborne, Fashionborn. So everything you do, every level you complete, you get paid for, and then you unlock a new a character. So you create your character at the beginning, and then you can change what they look like, change their skateboard, change their wheels, their trucks, the clothes, the tattoos, and all this is all locked under cosmetics and stuff. There's no microtransactions in there, which is nice to see, but everything is tied to doing these challenges, so these extra little bits of that each level has I forget what they call them now. It'll be here on the trophy list. They are called. Not them. I forgot what they're called. Cunts. What the fuck are they called? Did I do it? Oh, maybe I did it. Hold on. Bullet marshes for any skate god. Rivals? No. It's dead here now. Oh, we're ruining it. Okay. Anyway, there's these 3 characters that are in. There's these 3 characters that are in everything, and they all have like a high score. So you have to beat their. It's called their challenge, whatever they're called. Right. These things, you have to beat their challenge, and that's basically like the 100% in each level. So I'm now going through it. I've done 2 of the 5 sections by going through without having to checkpoint. Right. And that's my new challenge. But yeah, it's just one of those games. I probably will still pick it up because I think it's just so fun to play. It's not one of those exciting little. Yeah, it just feels so snappy, and it's so bite-sized as well. You can literally pick it up, play it for an hour, put it down. Yeah. That's it. Like, it's one of the stories, there's no story to it. It's really weird. It starts off with like voice acting, and then the second you get into the game, they start talking like fucking Animal Crossing, where it's like blah 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 blah. I was like, oh right, okay. I thought we was gonna have a story here, and then there's not really. It's quite funny. It gives you the option for each level. Like you go into a level, and then you have a little chat with these skate gods, and you can either press A to hear a little lore piece, or there's always the option B that is shut up and let me skate. So for people that don't want it, they just want to play it, because this is what this game is. This little loop of sort of going through the level, getting as many points as you can, and trying to string all these combos. That's the other thing. You've got like a combo system, especially when you start to learn like the manual, so you can then like jump off a ramp, do a trick, land with a manual, grind, then do it, and so you're trying to continue it into one big move and not stack it. That's where it sort of becomes that sort of trials. The
controls like nice and snappy then, like to do your tricks and transition.
I was amazed at how this game felt. Like it just feels so good to play. Yeah. It's just like that snappiness of playing like the OG Tony Hawk's like 1 and 2. Yeah. Just like that. When you go from something like that to like Skate, where Skate's a bit more sort of like simulation, and it's hard to sort of like get on board with play it properly, whereas how arcadey and snappy Tony Hawk's felt, this is what this felt. And I was surprised how a 2D sort of side-scrolling platformer game of version is so good. I completely forgot to text you to say after you play. I know you didn't really rate that much that Skate story, but what was the sort of, did that feel good on the thing? Or
it was like a hybrid between Tony Hawk and Skate. It's like an in-between type level. Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it from that perspective. Just what they had you doing sometimes was just like boring, like like chasing whatever I was doing, like letters and stuff. Yeah. What are we doing here? Right. It's not very. It's quite slow paced, and but I did quite like their take on it. It's interesting about the developer for OlliOlli World is they did Rollerdrome, which I've had on my list. I've got it on somewhere. I think I've got it on PS Plus or something like that, and I've been meaning to play it for years, but never got round to it. That's like this inline skating one where it's like an arena, and you think you have to shoot. It's like a battle going on and whatnot. So these are the guys that made that.
So am I right in thinking that? I swear I read something that the studio shut down. So is that Roll 7? Was it
Roll 7? Yes. I think what's happened is, have a look, history.
Oh yeah,
Take-Two ended up, because they were under Private Division, which was a Take-Two entity. Right. That disappeared. And then, it says on May 2024, Bloomberg reported that Take-Two planned to close Roll 7 later that month. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick denied the closure. Roll 7 was eventually confirmed to be shut down, so Take-Two sold private division for an undisclosed buyer. And so I don't know I don't know is the simple what's happened there, but I know that Roller Drone didn't do that well commercially,
right?
So that probably didn't. Because it went on that PlayStation Plus quick. I remember thinking, oh, already.
Did it? Yeah.
So I remember back in the day, we're talking like over 10 years now, like seeing OlliOlli from like 2013 and meaning to play that and just never getting around to it. But then OlliOlli World come along, I was like, well, that's the upgrade on it. Because there is an OlliOlli 2, that was 2015. That's the Welcome to Hollywood.
That's right.
One.
Hollywood, yeah. I'd like to play that now, but yeah, I couldn't find it. Well, this was like I say, I got the Red edition. I think I paid like £1.50 or £2 for it or something ridiculous. Yeah. And then when I realised it was a 2, I had a little look for that, but it looks.
There's 3 of them.
Oh, is there?
There's an OlliOlli from 2013, and you got OlliOlli 2. Then you've got OlliOlli World from 2022. He needs to play the whole series.
I've got to go down. I've done it backwards.
Might be a prequel. You never know.
It's a prequel. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but yeah, it's it is a third game, isn't it? Jesus Christ, he's done it backwards. But yeah, like I say, I think it was one of those games that it got recommended to play on the Steam Deck, and like I say, it really does fit that handheld system.
Their website doesn't exist anymore, Roll 7, so it might be gone.
Oh yeah, well that's what I think it was. I couldn't find it on any of these cheap like CD keys or loaded. I couldn't find the codes. It is still on Steam, but it's still about £18. And I think, I ain't paying that. Who's getting the money for that then? I suppose the
exactly. Take-Two funding GTA 6 of it. Dirty bastards.
But yeah, this one sports game of the year, Dice Awards.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good. Music's fun. It's got that sort of lo-fi hip hop vibe, that skater vibe, and it really was sort of, let's call it a breath of fresh air. I think I went into it with the same sort of mentality of Florence, thinking like, this could be a little indie darling. Don't know too much about it. I've heard of it and that. And then after coming out and playing it, I was like, no, that was genuinely like fun to play. That was good. That was an enjoyable experience.
Excellent.
I really recommend it.
Well, and I think I know where this is going then for OlliOlli Rad Edition, OlliOlli World Rad Edition, I should say, in terms of formalities in gaming's gallery of games. I'm assuming it's earned itself in there and doesn't get frozen out in self-storage.
It does, yeah. I am. It's got the platinum from me. I think I'm gonna give it a very satisfactory silver.
A satisfactory silver.
Satisfactory silver from me.
Edition. Yeah, I will put this on a list somewhere.
Yeah. I've got to say, when I come out, I think because of the trials aspect of it, and
that's the absolute tempter hearing that.
Yeah, I think it definitely had that vibe. Like I say, towards the back end of the game where it starts becoming difficult and the sort of it becomes more part of like, right, now I've got to try and traverse these. How am I going to get from that bit to that bit without crashing? And then they start adding wind into the game and little bits like that. That's what made me think that far. I was like, this is basically like a skateboarding trials game, isn't it? How fun. So I definitely think you'd get something out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's on that Switch too, because I think that handheld did. I know you don't really tend to play handheld much, but
I'd rather chuck it on 4K.
Well, 4K
that's the thing. Tellies and watch the pixelated art.
That is true. I mean, it is. It's like I say, it looks cool. Like it's got a cool style to it, and it's very low poly, so you could literally run this at 4K with no probs at all. Give it a whirl
and slop.
Yeah, have a look on loaded because I think it probably still is cheap. It is. Yeah, £3.50 at the minute.
There you go.
A Rad edition.
Straight to fund organised crime in the UK.
So love it.
Super silver for OlliOlli World Rad Edition. So have an eye out for that. And maybe I'll play Roller Drone. Let's give me
I'm intrigued to see that. I think that was one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah, that was a straight to PS Plus jobby, was it?
I don't know if it went straight to PS Plus, but I remember it appeared.
Oh, well, it did come on.
Yeah, and I was like, that doesn't seem like it's been out that long. Maybe I'm just, again, like we've spoken about it before, but COVID costing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember it appearing on there, and I was like, wow, that's that feels. Yeah, what is it? February. So it says here monthly games, Rollodrome. That was February of 2024.
Oh.
And it came out.
Oh, that OlliOlli. Didn't realise that OlliOlli was a Vita exclusive at first.
Right, yes, that makes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Only for 6 months.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, oh. I didn't know that was the third game. That's right, Devolver.
2 years
I like
that took.
game.
So that ain't quick. 18 months, 2 years. I don't know what I was talking about there with Rollodrome. I think I had it on my list for so long that when it appeared, I was like, oh, I'll save myself £8.
Yeah, I definitely remember that then.
It looks cool.
Oh, I did not know that this was the third one. I'm playing this backwards then. I'm gonna see how worse it gets.
Yeah, well, they're still pretty well received, but this was a bit more of a breakout one in terms of the levels, I guess, and the environment. So
OlliOlli looks a bit pixelated, whereas this fully fledged open world jobby.
Bloatville.
But yeah, definitely think worth a try, worth a pop for someone.
Well, there you go. OlliOlli World, Rad Edition. Give Take-Two some money. See how they get on. But earns itself a silver. Sits there in Gallery's Game of the Games. We'll bid you adieu. And as always, we'll see you on the other side.
Apps and Logan, we're back again on this podcast. It might not be back again. I always do this. It could follow, it could proceed. We never know until you've done the conjoining.
Yeah. Well, the way I see it is that it's always back again, because even if it's the start of an episode, it's still back. It's like a serial drama, isn't it? It carries on. We're back.
Just feels a bit. I don't know what the right way to do it is, because obviously, unless we recorded a marathon podcast, which nobody's asking for, we get fatigued. We get fatigued after one of these, I think, let alone doing it all as one shot. I don't know if there's any real way to connect them better, where it's like, do we? No. Don't know. Probably not. Not without a lot of effort.
Not my effort
of editing.
I ain't putting the effort in to edit it properly, so it's just drag and drop, under 4 hours, no more than 4.5 hours for the month, because the file size, our podcast host won't have it, and that's that. That's as easy as it gets. Put a little bit of an interlude between the segments, and then it's done.
It is a tricky bit of business, I would say. It is more work than a lot of people give it credit for, I think.
But it's less work than ever.
Well, there's still
contextualise it.
With life, though, doing this on the side for enjoyment.
It's supposed to be enjoyable, is it?
Well, yeah, that's the idea. Otherwise, why? Why do it?
£8 a month of patrons, or whatever it adds up to be after tax.
Tax? I suppose it would be.
No, actually, that's not true. You get an allowance in the UK, don't you? Of like, I think it's £1,000 of tax-free for like creative endeavours.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Because I was looking at that and I was thinking, have I been falling foul of some sort of HMRC thing? But I did check it, and you don't have to. What I meant was, after Patreon take their cut, it balls down. I think it's 30% or something like that. Yeah.
It does blow my mind, because I think they basically started coming after people doing eBay and like literally pennies on the side sort of thing that people are doing.
Well, is it? You got paper fucking trying to create a cottage industry out of it, selling things at all sorts of markups. So it's there's a business to be had there.
There are people that are doing that, but like, I don't. It annoys me a bit, because if you put something on Facebook Marketplace or like and just sell something like it's upcycling, recycling, whatever you want to call it, like a few quid changing hands. Like, what does it matter?
Landfill, otherwise I can deal with that.
This is what I mean. It goes in a landfill, and you then get told off by the government for not being, what is it? Not economical. Is it economical? green, whatever you want to call it. Change the colour, I say.
Sustainability they want.
Yeah.
And
I don't mind all of that.
And they want these AI data centers boiling the fucking world again. So they don't work. They doesn't add up anymore. This nonsense.
This is what has always annoyed me about this whole. Because you remember, and they were like, "Turn your light switch off. Don't leave your TV on standby. Do your bit." And I'm like, I'm doing all of that, and I still go to bed at night and go, I've got a light out the front of my house that's on all the time. Yeah. And I'm like, is that? Well, if everyone's doing that, you got 70 million light bulbs on it at any given point. But then you see how much power is flushed.
One Copilot prompt that you put into that will just boil about 4 of those. So
this is the thing. Like AI has just absolutely just dwarfed all of the energy needs and the energy stuff that we've been trying to do. But what do? Do you just go, well, it takes water? I mean, the one thing that we have got is a lot of water. Like, you do have to say that. Like, there's not really a shortage of water.
Those pipe bams going on in some counties. So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I know, yeah. It's because we ain't built a reservoir since like 1991.
No. They probably keep pumping fucking sewage back into them as well. I've seen that going on.
Well, that don't help. Honestly, well, I don't often sit here going, someone needs to do something about this. Usually the private sector tends to, by virtue of profit and competition, tends to make things better. But that doesn't always work with certain public services. I'm not convinced it's done a good job necessarily on those trains. And I'm definitely not convinced it's done a good job with those water companies in this country, because it is an utter shambles. Right. I have no objection paying taxes and the government controlling, if you like, water, energy, like the basics, I'd call it. But then can you trust them to do a better job? I don't know. Better the devil you know.
No one can be trusted is the real answer.
Indeed. But we're not here to put the world to rights, although we like to. We're here to discuss a game that I'm quite intrigued about, called Mafia, the Old Country, the newest instalment, courtesy of Hangar 13.
Yep. Hangar 13.
So, for context, I played the definitive edition not that long ago. Might have even been. It was either last year or the year before.
It was one of those. It was either 2025 or 2024. Yep.
I feel like it might have been last year, but I could be wrong on that, because for some reason to me 2025 feels like a dead year where I don't think I played any real video games. So it probably was 2024. But I liked that game. I mean, it was a remaster of that original one, as we discussed off air. Felt a little bit dated in places.
Remake.
Sorry, yeah. But it still felt a little bit aged.
Yeah,
I'd say in some places. But I liked it. I liked the story, and I liked a lot of things about it. So I'm curious to see where you kind of sit on it, because it's a bit different, I think, doing a remake where, to a certain extent, you're confined by what come before and everything that was in it.
Yeah.
To where we're at now, which is, you know, going back to where it all began in terms of a prologue for this world. So it's an interesting one, because I've toyed with the idea many a time about going back and playing, like, and basically if they did a remake or did something with Mafia 2 and Mafia 3, I would go and do those.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I've got no interest. And I think they got crapped on a bit as well as they went through. I don't think people were loving. I can't remember which one it was. I did read about it. I think it might have been Mafia 3 that people didn't like.
Mafia 3 is sort of like the stepchild that no one wanted in the family.
Yeah.
Well, you say that. The people who liked Mafia and Mafia 2 didn't want this one because it was the open clear down.
That's it.
Tutor.
Yeah.
And it got people's back. Because this franchise is cursed. Like, it can't be. There's no way this can ever be fixed, this issue. But you've got what I call the tourists who sort of just pop up, see a trailer, and go, "Oh, why is this not like GTA? We want full open world garbage." And they bent the knee for Mafia 3 eventually and said, "Here you go. Here's your open world." And you know, it was just dull as fuck. Like, it was not very interesting. The story was really good, but it was wrapped around the open world tutor. Clearing down districts and territory, and it's all the checklist toilet that you get stuck in with. And then, you know, the old country in this particular one goes back to the more linear format of Mafia 1 and 2. So the fans of those ones are kind of appeased. But then you've got the tourists coming in again with a new lens going, why ain't it Red Dead Redemption? It's like, oh, for fuck. It ain't. Just get over the fact that this not what this game is or isn't. Now, there's a case...
why people do this. Sorry,
Yeah,
I don't mean to... But it's like, I get, one part of me goes, I can get what you really want is this world and this kind of environment, but with all of that good stuff that comes with those sort of AAA Rockstar games. I can understand the desire for it.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I actually liked about Mafia was that I could enjoy the world, and to be fair, I felt like it was a relatively living and breathing world.
Yeah, yeah.
That was going on around me. But I liked the fact that I didn't have to stop what I was doing, and I could just appreciate the world for what it was, and it was just kind of there, and the story was operating within it. So no point did I ever go, oh, I wish there was a side quest here, or fuck it, or I could just stop and rob a shop. Like, at no point was I like, do I want or need that in my life? I find it all a bit bizarre that everyone wants 150-hour epic game all the time just because it's set in a world and you can drive a car and move around it. It doesn't all of a sudden have to be a GTA or a Red Dead.
No.
Like, come on.
I agree. Yeah, that's where I've always sat. So when I saw that the old country was going back to that style, I was like, well, I'm in for sure. And that's what it is. It's a linear story-based game that happens to have a open world backdrop, essentially. Like there's loads of little locations to go and visit, but you're not really incentivized to do that throughout the story because contextually you're off doing your mission, your task, or doing what needs to be done there. They've added like a free ride mode that you can go in afterwards, which is literally just free roam. So if you really are desperate for that, that's how you get there. And even before that came out, that was like a later update. But before that came out, you could go into like, the cars that you'd unlocked, you could go in and spawn them into the world and then treat it as open world. But these games, yes, free was the one where they went to change it and went, here's the open world, here's the downtime, here's the go here and unlock the quest and then go and do it. And then in the meantime, police chases and all that malarkey going on, side tutters and whatnot. Didn't do well critically, although none of these games really, other than I'd say the first one, that came out in 2002, critically have done amazingly well, which is why I talk about this kind of curse that's knocking around. But still, free was seen as a misstep. And then we're back to what you would have seen with Definitive Edition, a linear narrative action-adventure game, essentially. Just that rather than being set in a bustling city this time, you've got the countrysides of Sicily in the early 1900s. So a completely different atmosphere, which will, I think will rub people the wrong way, if I'm honest, because if you enjoy the hustle and bustle, you don't be having that here. But I've played all of them, so I do have a handle on what they've done with the series overall. And 2 is now crapped on because they released a definitive version of 2, which was just a remaster, but they bodged it. Like it's like unplayable. Like there's bugs, there's stuff that didn't exist before. It came out in 2010, which is a bit of a strange time because people are still fucking around with controls for third-person games at that point. They're still experimenting. They're not just following the status quo. But more importantly, the definitive edition that's available now for people to play, garbage because they've technically blown it. And that's Hangar 13's fault. The blame sits at their doorstep. So really, Hangar 13 have really made a hash of this fucking franchise since they've had stewardship of it. They've done Mafia 3, which no one liked. Well, which the hardcores didn't like, and I don't know if other people did, but it didn't do well. And then you get definitive edition for 2, which is just a technical disaster. No good. And really, definitive edition for 1 is decent. That's a remake and not a creative endeavour. So they've not really done a great. That's 2 out of 3 they've chucked, I think. And I'm surprised they got a 4th go at it. In all honesty, it's concerning, but 2K were like, nah, don't care. They seem to be relatively churn them out quick enough and make their money back. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in business anymore. You can tell you that much. Hangar 13 would be gone if Take-Two didn't see some sort of return on that. But
yeah, I mean, exactly that. I mean, it's an interesting franchise. It's one that I've always been aware of, but I was always a bit like, why do I need to do this? If that makes sense. Like, I feel like they've all come out at weirdish times, and to be fair, I think the only reason that I played Definitive Edition was because I think at the time it was on Game Pass.
Yeah, I only played it
looks like
once it came to PlayStation Now back in the day. So yeah, it dropped onto there. But it's a good starting point, that one, because it simply is just the first one being remade. So that was a little bit of a look into them going back to linear after 3 and seeing, I guess, a little bit of a proof of concept of what they might come up with for an additional entry. But yeah, I've always enjoyed them. I think the idea of them is pretty good. And yeah, like I said, I don't need to have everything open world. So let's get for it. And what's different? So say if you do like an Uncharted game, this plays very similar to that in that, you know, it's a shooting game for the most part, though we'll get into stealth, which might concern you. But with Uncharted, obviously you're globe trotting or your location trotting throughout.
Yeah.
Like you're in the hills of Scotland, the mountains of Scotland, then you're in the fucking desert, then you're in the jungle. So there's no consistency. Whereas what you notice over a Mafia game is that over the 12 hours or so that the campaign will take you, you're in that one map, that one location. It's big. You won't know every inch of it, but you start to become familiar with certain aspects of it. It just feels like a consistent atmosphere and setting, and it just helps underpin the story that these guys live there, and that this is a story that takes place from year 1 to whatever year. I think it takes place over 4 or 5 years when it's all said and done. And just having that consistent thing of, like, we're in Sicily, we're in this area, we're seeing these places again, I just think is just a bit different rather than the globetrotting and the change of location. We've got something here that we can become a little bit familiar with.
Conversely, if you don't like that location, you're fucked.
Yeah, that is the risk.
Yeah, so that is the way it goes. But yeah, the more modern one, I think I'm intrigued to see how it kind of stacks up against, I wouldn't say similar games, but my wonder is how, like, the thing that I've kind of always thought to myself is, how do you take something like, obviously, Mafia and take that into a modern kind of state, if that makes sense. And I don't really know how they do that or how it stacks up. I mean, obviously this is like early 1900s, so
yeah.
Are there cars? Is there? I mean, I assume there is, and there's some bits roaming. I always felt like the driving was a bit iffy. It's not saying that I kind of liked doing necessarily. It was a necessary evil, but there was a race on Definitive Edition, which I think
spoiler
they
alert.
out
There's
by
a
the
race.
time
There's a race in the old country as well. So I think that's become a bit of a bit for them now. After the infamous difficulty of that Mafia's race, I think they just do it because they're like, well, it's become, infamous in a way that it's there, and people are like, oh no, not another one. They've never made it as bad as that very, very original one, but still, if you don't like your racing, you could be in a bit of a pickle with one of the missions.
Yeah. So I think the main thing that I'm intrigued about is how it stacks up nowadays. And obviously, I know you're a big fan of your mob movies and stuff like that, your Godfathers and things. This is kind of an ideal game for you in a lot of ways because you like this lore, I think, is probably a good way to put it. And I quite like it as well. I'd probably say I'm heavily into like the Peaky Blinders and all that kind of stuff. I absolutely love that. So this is kind of where it sits for me. I love all of that kind of old school mob lore. I think it's a really interesting thing to explore. So I'd be interested to see what your perspective is on it. But where do you want to start then? Shall we? Where did you play this then? Did you play it on? I assume on the PS5.
PS5.
Ain't getting looking on anything else, is it?
No, PS5 Pro. I'd had it on a wish list for a while since it came out later on in 2025. I was busy at the time, so I didn't get it at launch. And then the next phase was like, well, if you don't get it at launch, the rule is that it gets picked up when there's some sort of sale on. RRP is $44.99, so it's not a 70 UK pound full tilt. It is a sort of that tier below, I guess. You know, top dollar. But I'll say,
is that just because this isn't like classed as AAA title? I mean, it's probably a AA title.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think that's fair. I think it does feel like that. I think in the cutscenes and the cinematic pieces, it stands its own in the AAA space, but certainly with other aspects of it, I guess they just know that because games are longer and longer, unless you can get to like the 20-hour mark, 15 plus minimum, I think they just know that people are going to be turned off by it. We saw with like Callisto Protocol, which was that horror game, 70 UK pounds, 9 hours, and I think the price point of that hurt it because people were expecting. I don't know. There is an expectation when things are tilted in at that, because 45 quid versus 70 quid. It's a fair amount of difference, and you just get a little bit more leeway, and you're into that impulse purchase price. So I think I got it for 34, 35, which seemed fair to me, and I was like, at some point I was going to get it, so little gap opened up, dived in, and the PS5 Pro was the place to be getting it. The Xbox is unplugged on the floor over there. It's just sitting there. Don't know what to do about that.
Mine's in a loft.
Well, you don't sell it because you'll have that tax on it. You do that via eBay.
I don't sell consoles. They just sit them right in the loft. That's the rule.
Yeah.
I mean, those Xboxes sadly are confined to doing nothing but dust collectors these days. So it makes sense. So if anyone's playing stuff, I'm trying to think of who's actually playing like actual games. I don't mean to sound elitist, but like what I would class as a gamer. Like, I don't think I know any actual like gamer that's still sitting there and using that as their main console, which is a pretty damning indictment. But I thought I'd check just in case you decided just to give it a run out, or if it cropped up. I didn't know if it had cropped up as well, and if you still had a Game Pass subscription or something, whether it was still lurking there.
Yeah, I don't think it is on there, but I haven't got one. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't appear on there at some point, nor would it appear on PlayStation Plus Extra or something like that as well. So it feels like one of those games that will land there eventually for people if they want to be patient. EGS
£8 a
even.
month. Go back to Game Pass.
Is that how much it is?
No, I'm making it up. If it was £8 a month,
be worth diving on for, because this is a short game. It's not like you're gonna be expecting to play it forever, but yeah, that's up to people.
I think it's about the ultimate one. I think is £13 in it a month at the minute.
Yeah,
but there's talk they're going to combine. So they have the PC one, didn't they? They have Ultimate, PC, Core, and all these different ones. They're talking about just folding it all in. So
£6.99, 50 plus games that are static and rotate. So it's not that one that you'd want most likely. And then you've got Premium. Where's that gone? No, they don't actually let you scroll to the side. That's good web design, not. Premium, 11 quid. That's the one where it's most likely going to appear. And then Ultimate is $22.99, 23 UK pounds.
Shit the bed. I forgot they did this. Yeah. I forgot they fucking did this.
Day one for Xbox published titles, that gets you.
I forgot how much of a disgrace that is.
Just buy it for 35 quid is my suggestion for people.
Wowee.
I mean, I have that roll over another month, and then you've spent more than you wanted to.
I would like to find someone that is actually actively and knowingly paying that and go, what are we doing?
I mean, you can fudge that, can't you? Because there's loads of there's like codes and whatnot from like loaded or what used to be called CD keys, where you can get it for cheaper. Yeah. But that's what they're asking for. If you go to, well, you don't even go to Phil anymore, do you? Direct, you go to Xbox. Say, friend of the show, sacked.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, So here we
That'll be for the
are.
year in review to go
Yeah.
through all that.
Yeah, we're 33 minutes in and we're done.
Fuck all.
Oh, cool. So let's get into the game then. So played it on PlayStation. You picked it up. You paid your money. You took your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Where should we start then? So talk to me about this story.
Yeah.
It's a prologue. Yeah. So the
Prequel.
Yes. Okay. A prequel. Sorry. Is there any reference to any of the characters in the later games?
There are, but they are quite subtle.
Forgotten their bloody
for
names
example,
now.
I picked up a note or a poster or something on the floor, and it listed out one of the mob bosses from the first game, like obviously in his younger days before he's moved over to America, and it was like so and so has been arrested for this, this, and this, and I was like, oh, that's him from Definitive Edition or Mafia 1. And then there are some other characters that you probably won't realise until you read up afterwards for who they are, because I'm not that attached to the lore. I've played them all, but I don't know every character's backstory inside out. So again, it's subtle. It's a prequel, but it's not like a Red Dead Redemption 2 style prequel where knowing the characters from 1 is actually beneficial. This one, it's an Easter egg territory, which I like. I think that's a smart way of doing it, rather than it being so reliant on previous games, because it's just not the way. Even taking away this being called Mafia, the old country, removes the number, and I think gives just people the space to say you could start here if you wanted. Yes, there's a 5% bonus you can get because you'll recognise so and so from X game, and then there's all the theories about what this will lead to in future games and how it ties. All this stuff's kind of there as well for the super fans. But Joe Blogg's playing it. Yes, it's a prequel, but it's not a narrative prequel. It's just this universe. This is the first game in the timeline so far. So yes, references, Easter eggs, and nothing more really, which are fun. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, this was my concern, is that you'd start sort of if there's an expectation that you'd know certain characters, or it was sort of weaved in a little bit in the right way, it could be good, but it's a tricky line to kind of stay on, I think. So it's good that they've kind of separated themselves, but obviously set before. I can't think how long it is. I can't remember if Mafia is after the First World War or not.
Mafia OG is, I think. Oh, was it after World War II? I can't remember now. Was it 1920s?
Yeah, I feel like it's in between. That's really going to piss me off now.
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
1938. So it's right in amongst it all, isn't it?
It's actually a bit later than I thought it was going to. Oh, that's it, because they start talking about. There's some of the stuff either in the paper or the radio where they start talking about
Nazis, and there's an upset. Yeah, the trouble in Europe brewing. Yeah, so it's the 1930s up until late 30s, Mafia 1. So it's Mafia 2 that's post World War, and then Mafia 3 was post Vietnam War, and then old countries. I don't know what they were doing back then.
1900s, in and around the fictional town of San Celeste.
Yeah.
Which was previously featured in Mafia 2. Interesting. So they've pulled it all the way back, and it's obviously more of an origin story of the Sicilian Mafia as opposed to the kind of families or anything altogether, I assume.
Yeah, well, I guess the way to look at it is that when they migrate over to America and set up shop there, you have like prohibition things that kind of give them a foothold to carry that sort of stuff out. But a lot of them potentially were doing nefarious things back in the old country, back in Sicily. So this is a glance at how things were operating before American influence, before American culture, because they behave differently. There's different priorities. The world's completely different at this point. So, it's more of like a glimpse of the old country, as the title suggests. So you get to kind of see a little bit of Sicilian culture, how organised-ish crime was operating back then. I don't think it became as formal until like what we think of like in mobster movies for America, but it's still very much honour. You know, you join the family. There's a don. There's all the trimmings that you'd expect, just over a Sicilian kind of template.
How do they deal with the language thing?
So it's in English. Well, there's two options. You can put it into Sicilian if you want, which I was going to do.
Yeah.
So someone's gone out there and done it. They've done the VO like quite, as far as I understand, quite accurately, and got the dialects right, all that kind of stuff. But the lesson I've learned mostly through Ghosts of Tsushima, putting that in Japanese, is these games, usually you'll be travelling from A to B at some point, and there'll be chatter between the characters, filling in backstory or giving in like little subplots and things like that. Yeah. If I can't hear and understand what's being said, I've got to look at the subtitles. But I'm trying to keep the fucking car on the road. Like, I can't be glancing down there to try and get the backstory and like actively travelling to my destination. Yeah. So I chose in this instance to choose the English language, where they sound like you would expect a Sicilian to sound with an accent speaking English.
Okay, right.
And what they do, I think, again, is clever. They did this in Clair Obscur, because that's kind of like a French setting, but again, in English. They retain and use swearing and curse words, and certain phrases are still Sicilian. So you get that infused into the dialect in a way, and into some of the sentences. And I think that's a smart way of keeping it feeling a little bit more grounded. But if you want to, you could just turn it onto Sicilian and then walk away to the bank.
Yeah, you then just got to read everything in subtitles, which is, you lose emphasis and you lose an element by doing that as well. So either way,
performance, you've got no idea whether they're performing the lines well, because you don't have like you said, you don't understand the emphasis of when they're supposed to be saying things, how it flows. You do. There's definitely, I'm coming around more to doing the English language for things, just because you do miss out on things like that. Yeah. It's all very good. I think it's a lesser of two
evils, right?
Probably on balance. I mean, if I ever play something twice, I would hope I'd choose. If I play for this again, I probably would choose Sicilian just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
But I think for a first run through, I'd recommend the English. And it's well acted as well. And like you said, you can kind of give the game that appreciation because you understand it. Whereas I think anyone who doesn't speak Sicilian or is close to it and then says, "Oh, the fucking VO in Old Country is really good, isn't it?" I was like, "How do you know? You got no idea how they performed it." Like, well, you can just hear it. Like, no, you don't be understanding it, so knock it off.
No, I mean, you could. There's probably some bits where you can get a feel for it, but largely it's just gobbledygook. Like, you're just hearing words and emphasis, and you can probably tell if someone's pissed off or sad, or you can tell the emotion, but that's about it.
But you don't know if that's completely overacted or
like you just you've got no real context. So it's just an interesting one for me, because I was thinking about, obviously, when it's set in America, they've kind of got the Italian American accent, right? And you can kind of tell it's what you'd say is now that distinctive mob accent from the time. But it's like, how did they navigate that in Sicily? I was like, it'd feel weird if they kind of gave them a similar accent to what they'd have had in America, because they clearly wouldn't have had that back then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, the story. So do you want to talk to if you enjoyed and what the story is sort of doing for you?
Yeah, I think the story's good. I enjoyed it. Your main character is Enzo, and he starts out. His backstory is that his dad got into debt, all sorts of trouble. Don't know where the mum was. Not important, seemingly. And essentially, he at a young age, he's sold off to work in the mines that are in Sicily. So real grunt work, and that's it. Like he's left in the mines for years, working in there, and he's kind of stuck. That you don't know if a slave's the right word, but you don't be just getting out of that. You're there. You're carrying out the work that you're told to do, and that's that. Anyway, there's an issue with the mine early on, and he has a bit of a falling out of one of the lieutenants there. Escapes, ends up in like the territory of Don Torossi, and when the other mob family go to kind of deal with him, Don says, "You're on my territory." No, and they're quite respectful. There is like an understanding of territories. Your business is your business. Our business is ours. We don't want to have bloodshed, so they kind of leave it. And then off the back of that, you join and start carrying out low-level jobs for the Don and work your way through. But it touches on a lot of interesting themes. Like, clearly, Enzo's a bit of a lost human in that he didn't really have an upbringing, and his childhood's just completely decimated by working the mines. You get a glimpse into, I guess, people who are in the family, born into the Mafia, and actually they can't really escape. It's not what you do, is it? You don't just go, I'm going to go and be a lawyer. It's like, well, actually, a lawyer actually might be the exception because they're useful.
Yeah.
Later on, particularly in America.
A dentist.
But you don't just go disappear and do what you want. Like, you're part of the family, you do this, and do they necessarily want to do that? That's the question they grapple with. And then you've got other family members who are really motivated. They want to be the next Don and all that kind of good stuff. So there's a lot of interesting little bits and pieces in there. And Enzo as a protagonist is good. And the side characters, the supporting cast, and the people you meet, they're all excellent as well. So, yeah, they do a really good job on the narrative front, which is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for these games and continues to do so in the old country.
It's one of the things that I liked most, I think, around the definitive edition was the relationship that was built up between all the characters, and there's always this underlying element of suspicion, like, are they loyal, are they not, like, and all that kind of stuff that's going through.
What are their motivations for X, Y, and Z? Yeah,
exactly. So it's one of the things that I think is really interesting to see play out in the game, is how all of those things build up, who's got ambition and loyalty, because those are the two things that ultimately seem to be key. And as people fall out of favour, how does that affect them? Like, it's just interesting to see sort of this balance of characters and power change throughout the game. So it's one of the things that I personally like seeing. So I'm glad that they've replicated that well in this one. How does everything else kind of stack up? It feels kind of weird to say like a modern sort of game like this, because I don't feel like it's obviously an old one. But how do you? Are there things in it where you're like, oh, this is kind of what you come to expect? Or for some reason, there's something in my head, and I think it's probably just because I played Definitive Edition, where things have moved on so much since that game was made, where I felt like there was bits missing that I'd kind of come to expect, and things felt clunky. And I just kind of want to see, like, is everything in this game up to a 2025, 2026 standard?
I'd say it's up to a minimum standard in that it's playable, it's functional, but I think it has the same trappings as Definitive Edition, that it just feels slightly jank, slightly old, slightly wooden, particularly when it comes to combat and roaring around in that element. So I think there's definitely an art to that, clearly, because they've had two kind of goes at a more linear focused game, and then I think both times they've fallen. If you compare it to the narrative anyway, and we can contextualise it against the strongest part of the game, still the weakest part is probably the moment-to-moment gameplay to a certain extent. It's not terrible. Like, it's still, like, you hit the button, it works. The inputs are all there, you can aim at. But it's just, like, for example, the gunplay, I think, is interesting because it's kind of dependent on what weapon you've got in your hand. Some of the more basic pistols or revolvers, you'll pop out of cover, so it's cover-based. You'll aim down the reticle, and it will just slowly kind of zone in on your reticle so you can get an accurate shot. And depending on what type of gun you've got, it's quicker or longer depending on what you're using. Yeah. So if you actually end up getting stuck with a revolver for most of the game, it can feel really poor because you're popping out holding it for like a good few seconds. You're probably getting hit a couple of times before you can even pop off your shot. But you kind of have to pick up the weapons, and you can buy weapons throughout the game that you can go to in your stash and use for missions and whatnot. But nonetheless, even when you've got the more, let's say, effective weaponry, it still has it just feels like it's not as smooth or as clean as the top games that operate in this space. Which there aren't. I mean, how many games are there these days that have a lot of like third person shooting in them? Like, they don't
No, I think it's because I have to be honest. I think it's the worst way to experience a game. Like shooting in third person is just never ideal. Like shooting in first person's great. The two things, right? Melee combat in first person is dog shit. Like,
Yeah.
It's not good, but melee combat in third person is really good. And I have the same. It's kind of the opposite. I think for third person games, I think like when you're doing these things, like you're going around with a gun in third person, it just feels like aiming just feels a bit shit because you're so far away technically. Like when you're aiming down sight, you're close to it, but third person, you're over a shoulder over here, trying to look down a gun that's over here, and it just feels a bit of a weird thing to grapple with. But I didn't really like the gunplay in Definitive Edition. I felt it was, as you say, it kind of was okay, but sometimes I felt like you had to be quite precise, and it just didn't always lean into that very well, and you kind of just felt a little bit scattergun. One of the things that frustrated me that I wanted to ask you is if you can kind of actively choose the gun that you want to use. I found myself going through some of these missions, and you would just be given a gun. You'd be like, great, this thing's dog shit.
So you can buy weapons in this one, which is a bit strange in itself, the way the game's structured. Whatever, you can buy them, but it doesn't mean it's going to equip them before a mission. And also, it doesn't mean you're going to have the opportunity to visit your stash to pick your favourite weapon. So I think you have to be deliberate about if you really want to use that new pistol that you've got, you almost have to go out of your way to go and get it, and you're not always in the vicinity or the location where you can access your stash. So I just stuck with the default weapon, then en route to the mission I'd pick it up. So they could actually, maybe if I'd looked further, maybe they are scattered around in the missions that you can find them or preload. But I think that carries over a little bit in that you're just going to find less resistance just going with what's default you're equipped with, and then dealing with it rather than flapping around and going back and forth or trying to deliberately kind of get the right weapons that you're after, which I think is a bit of a... Yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say, it's one of two things, right? Because it is so story-focused, you find yourself sort of... Yeah. And you don't always know you're going to be in combat. Like, as we probably can get into, it's not always a combat-focused mission. And it was a little bit different in Definitive Edition, because you could go and see that fuck, couldn't you? And pick certain things up. But I just sometimes I forgot.
Well, I think it's similar here.
It just felt a bit unnatural.
You can, but it doesn't naturally flow in that way. You know, we've spoken about other games where the mechanics around the games means that you can't just live and die by your choices. You have to kind of reload, or you can't just play the game. And I think the same problem here is that if you just play it that way, because the game's equipped for you to do that. It wants you just to go through, go on the adventure, etc. But you're going to forget to go and pick up your weapons or change your loadout, because it's not the game is not designed like that. That's the advantage of having an open world game, because it's just the way in which they structure them. It just feels right to go and do that, to take a breath, to restock, to reload, to repair, to all that sort of stuff. Whereas this is like, you're on to the next mission. Okay, we're going to go to the city for this, and you think, well, I don't even need a weapon here, and then until you do.
This is the thing. They go, oh, can you just go and drop so-and-so off? And it's like, you know you're not a fucking taxi game. This isn't Taxi Simulator. But it's not always obvious what you're going to get into. Like, there were some things where it was obvious you were probably going to get into a hefty gun battle. But they would say, go and visit so-and-so and pick what you want before you go. So it'd feel natural to do so. But if you're trying to do that every time and go up there, it just feels... It just feels a bit weird. And then... There was one particular battle with Definitive Edition where it was kind of like one of the biggest battles. And I just remember I was thinking, God, I wish I had a Tommy gun here. Like, it felt like such a chore. I think I had a shotgun and it was like longish range.
Yeah, and you've had it.
And I was just like, this is such a fucking annoyance now. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's just interesting to see whether they've kind of tried to deviate from that, or whether it still feels like you're kind of locked into a little bit. But my perspective is that the narrative and the story should give me the gun I need and the weapons I need to beat the mission and move to the next one effectively. And sometimes I'm like, when I've talked about, I felt like I was doing a long range battle. Is that me just not progressing through the cover quickly enough? Like, I'm like, is it designed for me to sort of be a bit more close combat, and I'm trying to play it in a different way? Like, it's just things like that where I sort of start almost questioning myself and going, if you've given me this, you surely wouldn't have given me this if just to make my life hard, right? You wouldn't have given me a close range weapon on something where I'm meant to be at distance. Like, the game surely wouldn't be designed like that. So I do try and think about it differently, but it was just one of the things that sort of I wanted it to do and one of the things that I didn't like was it's kind of like I would like to use my preferential weapons and kind of have a loadout, or feel like I had my own gun rather than just picking up whatever someone's given to me. Because at this point, I'm like a gangster. Like, a gangster would have their own gun, right?
Yeah.
And even like the car situation, like, I really wanted to get into like some of the cool vehicles they had on the game. But it always felt weird going into my garage, selecting a car. Like, it just didn't feel right to do. So they kind of put this whole thing in this sort of like car system in Definitive Edition that I literally never used. I never was a case of pick a car and meet me at so-and-so. It always gave you a vehicle. So there's some things that in it where it always seemed to be straddling this line between things you'd like in an open world game versus just being a linear story game. It was never 100% sure kind of where it sat at times. Like, very minor things, I might add, but okay. So what we're saying is we like the story. Forgot where we got up to because I interrupted you about the gun battles. But obviously, there's, it's the name of the game to kind of become the Don, or is it not really?
No. Because he's an outsider, he can never be the Don. He's not. Enzo's more of a. He's more of a. He's kind of similar to Tommy in the first one because Tommy's a taxi driver. I don't know if you remember how it starts. He's not. You don't want to. He's just doing his job or whatever. It's similar here that Enzo's not born and bred into it. He's kind of adopted, and then because he's come from this horrible scenario in the mines, anything's better than that, and he's grateful to have like a roof over his head. They're looking after him. He's doing jobs. He's earning a bit of money.
Family.
Yeah. He gets to know the family, and it's like, and then it becomes more of an obligation rather than a, something that he wants to do. He starts to branch out, I think, and I think that's where some of the conflict might come in. But yeah, he's not trying to ascend and be the boss of Sicily. That's not the story's more about his journey from nothing to something to what do I actually want? What should we be doing? Is this right, etc.
The old quandary where you start getting a conscience. Like, it's like, should we be doing this? It's like, well, a bit late now. Because Tommy had a bit of that as well. It was a bit like, Yeah,
well, Tommy's whole thing, it starts with him talking to the copper, doesn't it? Grassing him in. So immediately it's gone south. So it's interesting to kind of backfill that in. And this doesn't follow that template, but it's... you're not a ambitious, bloodthirsty Don to be trying to take over Sicily. You're very much just part of the family, and then trying to figure out what's right for you.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, sorry, we were discussing before about perhaps some of the pitfalls of it not being a full AAA blaster of a game. And I think so we sort of discussed some of the inventory, some of the clunkiness in the game. Is there anything else I think narrative-wise we can separate it a little bit because that's generally, by the sounds of it, pretty good. But in terms of like mechanics, I mean, I see here actually it's actually made in UE5, which surprised me a little bit. But I suppose you won't really notice much of that. I mean, it doesn't matter what engine it's in if it's not, if they don't have the resources to fully use it. But I thought that was quite encouraging to see. A game like this being done in I
think UE5 in itself means that it can only ever get to a certain... Well, I think for most people that use UE5, your standard of gunplay or there's a cap on it. Like, it allows you to do all this good stuff, but I do think that the best games typically, not always, feel the best when they're in their own engines, not when they're using a mass market tool, because the mass market tool can do a million things, but can it really be honed and crafted and manipulated in such a way that it feels so strong? I do think there's something towards like these mass market engines versus, you know, whatever the Naughty Dog engine is, or even Resident Evil's engine. Like it feels. I think that's what it feels. This feels run of the mill, just even when you're walking around, because I feel like I've played so many games that use the same walking pace. Even, you know, the animations are different, but your character feels the same. Like you feel. It's not like GTA. Like everything's grounded, physics based. Again, it's their own engine that they're operating on. I think that has a lot to do with how the game feels. And again, it's not to say it's bad. It's just that you will feel like you've played this before in some veil. Probably Mafia Definitive Division's the easiest analog. But even if you hadn't played that, you could bet your bollocks that you think, oh yeah, this feels like the video game.
Yeah, and that's interesting. An interesting observation, because I'm glad I kind of pinpointed on that, because it's an interesting thing that you've pulled out there, where some games are definitively those games because of that engine. As you say, like whenever you watch or play a Resident Evil, it plays differently, as you say, to a GTA or something. Like they've got a very identifiable way of operation, and the way the character moves and the things that sort of happen in the world. It all kind of feels deliberately put together in that way. Whereas, you say, when you sort of got something that's out of the box and you can just build over that to a certain extent, there's going to be copy and paste elements that you will not explicitly see with your eye, but you will feel, and as you say, you'll kind of gone, oh, that feels familiar, but I don't know why. And it's because, well, you've played 5 other games that have used the same engine. Yeah,
they've just used the module for the character traversal. They slapped on their own animations, but the feel of the object is the same, essentially.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But we do have stealth in this game. So the other key things that make up playing the game are stealth. We've done gunplay. Got stealth, driving or riding a horse. So that's like traversal, getting from A to B. And then they've added these knife duels. So you pick which of those 3 threads you want to pull at, and we'll go through them all, but get to where you want to go.
We're going to do horse riding, because I am intrigued, and we shouldn't do this, but the best version of this, as you will not no doubt be surprised to hear, that I've ever done, has been in Red Dead 2, right? It's unbelievable. So I like to just sort of go, this is where it's at. Like, this is top tier up here. Like, and your brain will automatically as well, when you do that, by virtue of the setting and everything, it will sort of pull back that, what I would consider a core memory of how that played in Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
And then when you pulled that through in this, how did that?
Oh, it's not close. It's just not. It's just simple as that.
If you said it's like on par, and go, well, how's that possible? And it's an unfair stick to beat it with. I didn't mean to do it deliberately, but that would have been the first thing that I would have done in my head, not explicitly, but implicitly. I'd have gone, "Cool, this just doesn't feel like how I'd have liked it."
So it's there. You can use the horses, but you've got cars, which actually the cars are, and this is not necessarily because the cars control any better or worse than the Mafia games, because you're on the open countryside. There's not a lot of traffic. In fact, there's very little traffic. I mentioned the hustle and bustle gone. This feels very quiet, which might be accurate. I don't necessarily think it's a good or a bad thing. It's just an observation. But it means the dusty roads, there's no tarmac really. So you're on dusty roads, so your car's a bit looser. And you've got a lot of open space just to sort of bomb it around on these open roads. So actually, because you're not got the city on top of you and the traffic and the cars and the pedestrians, driving around is really fun. Like just steaming around, you can drive like a moron. Like it's the 1900s. There's no fucking traffic stops or speed cameras. You're just powering around where you need to go and just try not to flip the car on its head. And obviously, a lot of the cars here don't have a roof, so if you land on your neck, you would die in real life. It doesn't happen in the game; you just lose a bit of health. But there's no roll bar on these things, and I flipped over a few times and thought Enzo should be gone here, and he's just
he's still here.
But driving's good fun, and it's more to do with the setting, I think, and the environment that you can explore.
Yeah, I'd quite enjoy it. That was one of the things that did annoy me about the definitive edition was that I was constantly on the lookout for those Rozzers.
Yeah.
And I just ended up just driving around with the auto speed limit on in the end because I was like, I'll just keep my nose clean. I was like,
Safest way to do it.
It's the safest way to do it because I could do without the hassle. But yeah, I could quite like the idea. Like when you could get away, as you say, there are a few little bits where you got out into the hills or whatever in definitive edition where you could really put the foot down, and wasn't too terrible.
No.
I can understand why that's good fun. You'd probably choose that over the horses every day of the week. Is there like horse racing or anything that kind of goes on, or is it just there?
Yeah, no, there's horse race. Like there's a mission for a horse race, and in free mode there are both car races and horse racing to do as activities. And you have like a gallop system, so you click in the analog stick to gallop, and then you can boost with R1. You get free boosts, and then they on a timer. You just hit R1 again. So you just hit R1. There's no, as far as I can see, there's no strategy to. Why would you bother waiting? Like you want to just go as fast as possible, as often as possible. There's no stamina to worry about. So a bit of a strange inclusion. But I guess if you're doing any sort of race, there has to be some sort of tactic to it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, once you've got your first car, you'll probably just be like bin the horses, unless you want to just trot around and take it a bit slower.
No,
interesting.
I mean, I wouldn't. It's good that it's there, but I imagine, but as per what you've said, is it's functional pretty much, and it's like, why would you use it outside of that? Yeah. Okay, so next string. What were the strings?
Stealth or knife duels?
Stealth. Right, and then remind me to do knife duels after stealth. I think there was one stealth mission that I remember, and I did not. I mean, I don't enjoy stealth anyway, but go on.
Well,
what are we dealing with here?
You're dealing with a very basic, I would say, stealth system. You got like the instinct mode, so you can see where it highlights enemies to help you. There's no vision cones. You can do things like put bodies in trunks to hide them, so that if a patrolling guard comes along, they're not suspicious and start, going off path, because everyone follows their paths. It's one of these games where there's no dynamism to it. It's that you watch them and you can see where they're going to go. And you crouch.
OG Metal Gear Solid stealth is what we're dealing with here.
No, it's just very basic. And I think the annoying thing for me is that there are auto fail sections in the game. So if you get caught, the mission ends, because contextually during that mission you're not supposed to get caught. Yeah. Which is fine, I think, but only if your checkpointing is fair. If your checkpoint is just logical. This has some brutal checkpoints, and I think it's because they assume you as the player won't fail the stealth because it's so basic and mostly easy. But you will eventually fall foul or something. You'll get complacent. And
I can and will fall foul at any stealth mission if given the chance. I will push it to its absolute limits.
Yes, and you'll get stung at least once during your playthrough here. And the troubling thing is that stealth, the auto fail stealth sections, there's more than one of them. There's probably a handful overall, and that seems like a big increase. And maybe I'm misremembering, or maybe I didn't get in too much bother, but a couple of missions I got stung with some poor checkpoints because of auto fails and stealths, and I was like, why? It feels like there's more of it in here than there was for definitive edition. Maybe because it's the setting or whatever, or they wanted to try something different. But yeah, I know you don't like stealth, so it's worth calling.
It's never better. Nobody's playing an action game, and going, I want that stealth set. Like, where's my stealth section? Nobody's asking for it. I don't understand why. I can understand why they go, oh, we'll have a change of pace. I can understand from a pacing perspective.
Mary Jane in Spider-Man.
I mean, why the fuck would you want to play a Spider-Man game and roll around as her?
That's the ultimate scene, that one.
They
did it twice. They did it in both games.
Yeah, it really does, for me, actually ruin the pacing, not improve it. Like, I want to play at the same pace, preferably throughout, really. Yeah. I just don't understand. One mission can be, to a certain extent, understandable. Like, I kind of get it, but that feels 4 or 5 feels overzealous for something where you're You really want to be. Look, if you're playing a mobster game,
it does feel strange.
like you. When do you ever see mobsters going around and
Skulking around?
Skulking around. You wouldn't see Ronnie and Reggie Cray skulking around a pub in the UK. They had walked in the front door and do you know what I mean? And that's what you want to play. You want to play as the big
This is
dick.
the old country, slower pace of life.
Right? I just think it just doesn't.
Sicilian honour.
There's never. I don't understand why they. I mean, even when you think about the Spider-Man one as an example, they have almost created a whole character.
Yeah.
To do that role when they absolutely didn't really need to. Nope. She could have been there as a background character, doing whatever, going for dinner. I don't give a shit. But I don't understand this incessant belief that games need this. I think it's an absolute myth, and I don't understand why they've convinced themselves it somehow makes the game more interesting or better. Because it just, for me, I don't think we've ever sat here over the years, you and I, and gone, I'm glad that was there. It made it better. I think we're pretty unanimous on the view that they always, in some form, make it worse.
Yeah. I don't mind it if the mechanics are interesting or fleshed out, or it's an optional thing. Like, you know, I don't know. You could do it in Uncharted 4. You could stealth 3/4 of the room and then it all kicks off and then that's how it goes. But and Metal Gear Solid is a stealth game, but the mechanics
Assassin's Creed,
yeah.
You know,
but they're optional in most of the cases. They're optional. This auto fail nonsense with checkpointing that should be more generous is a coster. So there's more. And I said it feels like there's more of it as well than what you would expect. So
it's not good. Is what I would say. I mean, the fact that it's there again, as you say, you can to a certain extent forgive one mission. I mean, the mission that I'm thinking of in Definitive Edition, it felt a bit too long and it was just unnecessary. But I kind of get why it was there and why you were doing it. Like it made sense in the story. I still didn't enjoy it because I don't like stealth, but to continually do that is a bit jarring.
I mean, they in most cases there's a reason why you would do it that way. I think, like, you know, if you're rescuing something or trying to steal something, it kind of makes sense to keep a low profile. But I don't know. Yeah, I tend to agree. Like, and the fact that it's not executed in an interesting way, it's just fine, and it just slows things down. Like, yeah, I'd prefer you spend time honing the gunplay and creating that kind of area. But then, if you don't like the stealth, then at least you've got the knife duels and the knife fighting to bring it home. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, the last thing I'll just say on the stealth stuff is like I don't know who does. There must be some cookie cutter fucking game.
It's probably a module in fucking Unreal Engine they're using. Just go, get the stealth module and drop that in there. There you go.
But do you know what I mean, though? Is it like, you know, when you pull a template out?
Yeah,
and it goes.
It feels like that.
It's there at a certain point in the majority of these games, and I don't know what it is about these game designers or the storyboarding or whatever it might be that goes, we have to have this in there. If I was in the room with Phil and Jeff and all these people that were doing it, I'd go, have you ever played a game where this has been better? Like, I would literally sit there and be like, it is unanimously always, listen to the Dimp Digital podcast, they talk about it all the time. They always say, unanimously makes it worse. So what are we doing?
What are we playing at?
It just really annoys me. And it's always at a similar point in the game as well. It's sort of about 3/5 of the way through. Yeah. It'll chuck in some stealth and you go, oh, fucking great, here we go.
Yep.
But knife duels, let's do it. What are they all about and why are they there?
I don't know why they're there, but they are there. So these are defined points in a mission or a game where it's not something you just proactively during a battle spark up. That you can slice people with melee, but the game really has a poor melee system. It doesn't encourage you to be doing that. So it's shooting, it's stealth, or it's when you get into these predetermined knife duels. So they're meant to be cinematic, I think, in a way. So you have your knife, and you can change your knife throughout the game. You can pick up new knives. They have durability, which you can use when you stealth someone. It will take like a little... Again, this is an unnecessary system. Why the fuck are we dealing with sharpening knives? Well, what are we doing? But anyway, that's another rabbit hole I won't go down. But it's just, again, it's like a system that's like, what's wrong with having the knife there? I know I have to like replace my knives in the kitchen like a little bit. But every like 5 to 10 years, not every fucking 5 minutes. And all I've done is cut someone's throat. I'm not cutting through bone. I'm just going through flesh. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, they have like these. And it's normally like a sub boss, or I suppose it's their version of a boss. These knife fights. So 1-on-1, you'll be there, and it's a battle. So you can dodge, you can parry, you can break their guard, you can do quicker attacks, you can do lighter attacks. They can dodge, they can parry, they can break your guard, etc. You can guard yourself. So it's got like a few decent like trimmings in there, and it's, I guess, whether this is accurate or not, but it seems like Sicilians love a knife fight because this is in the game. You'll be surprised the amount of times a scenario will devolve into a knife fight when you both had shotguns 5 minutes before.
Is it like back in the day when I go, I challenge you to a duel? Like,
in some ways, there is a little bit of that. But some of these people aren't honourable, so why they're even agreeing to it? Usually it's because something's happened, you've both dropped your weapons, or you know, something like. But again, it feels like a thing that someone came up with and went, let's try this, and they went, oh yeah, we really like that. I know you've built it, but actually there's probably only 2 instances where it makes sense. And they've gone, oh, no. We want it in there half a dozen times. And someone's built this knife dueling system and they're really proud of it. And they've kind of wedged it into the game more than it needs to be. It's fine, it's fun, it is cinematic, and, you know, it's better than the stealth, let's put it that way. But it's not lost on me the amount of times it just feels like, oh, here comes the knife fight because these set of circumstances have occurred. So it's strange. It is a bit of a strange inclusion, and I suppose if you spend X amount of time on it, you want to yield that more than perhaps if you'd spent less time on another system. But it feels like, oh, here's the knife duel video game part rather than the natural conclusion. Yeah. I'd rather have a cutscene of whatever the outcome is going to be, like if it's an execution or a battle. Like, I'd rather just do that and have like the odd knife fight rather than, oh, another knife fight. Oh, another knife fight. Oh, do you know what? There's another knife fight here.
I did ask this AI what it's about. I literally put into...
Can it be trusted?
I went Sicilian
15
knife
bulbs
fighting.
left on for 3 months you've just burnt doing that. So I hope it was worth it.
Apparently, Sicilian knife fighting is a traditional martial art originating in Sicily, deeply rooted in the island's history of dueling, survival, and cultural fusion. It centres on the use of a folding stiletto knife.
Yep.
Particularly the Licca Spoonie. I've probably said that wrong, but a blade historically smeared with soap to cause severe non-lethal wounds that would fester and lead to death later. I mean, there's some other stuff here, but we don't need to go over it. But it looks like it is a thing.
Maybe, yeah.
But
it never came across as though, oh, this is how we settle our differences. It always came across that something's happened and now this is the last resort because everyone keeps butterfingering their guns everywhere or whatever. It's odd. It is odd.
You try to shoot a gun and it doesn't work, so all they've got is to pull out a knife.
Yeah, almost.
It pulls out a knife and you get in a battle.
Yeah, it's a bit comical in that way.
So it's almost like scripted. How weird. It's not just like, hey, this is how we do it in Sicily. This is sort of thing. Interesting. This game, it's in some ways, you know, you sort of have a discussion about saying, you go, this is just quite bizarre, like the conversation we're having in some ways. All right, where the fuck are we? Right, knife fighting. We discussed mechanics.
Yeah, I think that's mostly the game. The only thing I would say is the free ride mode is there, so that's the open world section. Really waste of time. Like, I wouldn't even bother going to that because you can there's challenges like combat challenges, like wave-based challenges. There's races, like I said. There's collectibles to get. There is like some sort of quest that you can do, like a treasure hunt. I tried to do the first bit of it and couldn't find it. So I was like, well, it asked me to like take a picture of something. I was like, I don't even know how to get the camera out. I haven't used this thing since the mission asked me to like 10 hours ago. So I just binned that. It's a free ride mode. If you want the GTA experience or you want the Red Dead experience, it's not here. This is not the game for that. Don't be tricked into that being there. There's no police or anything. There's no like wanted system. You can't even shoot the people in the world just willy nilly. It won't let you. It's got a blocked cursor. So it's not a sandbox to fuck around in. It's do the challenges if you want to do them at the set locations and then get the collectibles and get out of there. One thing I really liked about the drive-in is that there's a map, but there's no GPS, no mini radar. So it's like, how do you know where you're supposed to go? Well, what they do is they spawn in, and you don't see it spawn in, but what will happen is there'll be a like a road sign with an arrow. Like it looks like it's in the world, like it's been put there, and it will go left. You have a little arrow pointing left, so you're just driving naturally, like, oh, I'll take a left here. Yeah, and it's really clever because you don't have to keep checking the map. It feels like it was there, even though we know it wasn't. We know as a player it's been put there to direct us. But of all the different ways that games have tried to tackle this in the past, the common one is put the mini map at the bottom and have a GPS, which is fine, it works. This just felt a nice way of keeping it less cluttered and a bit more immersive, that you're just following the signs. And because the roads aren't overly complex either, it's countryside, there's big lanes and there's a few little bits where it might get a bit twisty and turny, but there's not a lot of like junctions and things to worry about. It works really nicely that you'll just come to a turn and be like, oh, left here, right here, and they're just there, almost as though they were put there. Well, they are put there for the player, but as though they were there for normal traffic. So that's
that. That's
it's
nice
really
touch.
Yeah, it's really nice to navigate. Going back to the free ride mode, because you can't put a marker down anywhere. There ain't no of these signs anywhere. So if you want to get somewhere, you are checking the map constantly. Again, which is a blur.
It'd be nice if you could put like a pin down and it'll navigate in the same way to the pin. Yeah.
Yep. Nope. But story mode, or the game itself mostly, it's there. So that's a nice little touch and an idea I like. Because I remember The Getaway, which was like the British gangster game from PlayStation 2. That's a similar game in that open world set dressing, but linear mission structure. And again, no map, or the map that you couldn't interact with, no mini map, no GPS. The indicators would come on and say left here.
Yeah.
But they were too late sometimes. They didn't be trusted in these indicators. Yeah. So this is a much better system and far less intrusive than any other game that I've seen, because it's you're constantly just looking at the map, aren't you? Glance down, right, left, up. Well, you're pausing. This you can just drive, and if you drive a car in real life, you can just be like up here, left, bang, bang. It's a great idea.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
and that's what gets you the platinum.
Putting that fucking 7 bonus points. For good design. No, it's a nice little touch. It's good that call out some of the stuff like that, which is nice little. Like it goes to show, for all its cookie cutter-ness, that there's some thought put in other areas where somebody's played it and gone, that's annoying. Yeah, we need to come up with a better system, and they have done.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Okay, is there anything else you want to call out?
Performance is decent on the PS5 Pro. Like, it's not flawless, but it's close
120
enough.
frames, 4K.
I don't think so. Don't know what it is. No idea. Just know that it looked good enough.
Fine. Good acceptable.
Enough. No crashes. Not on absolute blowaway. Again, I think we see it as a tier down from the top marks of that particular area, and it feels that way. But it's really good. Like the cinematics are beautifully done. Wouldn't be out of place in many a narrative game. So. Yeah, nothing to worry about, I guess, from that perspective. And if you've got a PS5 Pro, it'll run pretty well as well. So, laughing to the bank.
Right. Okay. In which case, we will do our usual journey to the Dim Digital Gallery.
Platinum done.
We can
road signs.
Well, this is an interesting one because, as per Logan's predictions, I think this one teeters. A little bit on the edge. It is a teeterer. Got some good stuff, but it's got some bad stuff. So This one for me could either go into the gallery at probably a bronzish level, I reckon, or it goes in that self-storage. And I would say, to a certain extent, this is a 50-50 for me, unless you're going to surprise me with a silver, which is not impossible, but I would be surprised where you may put it. I think the narrative bit is key. That might be the what do you call it? Thing that balances it up a little bit for you. But I don't know how much you enjoyed that narrative, so I think that is the key.
Yeah, it goes into the gallery.
Yeah.
It's all the stuff that we complained about is our complaints, but most of it's serviceable. But I do think, again, I truly... There's two things that could have moved it up to what I'm about to say, is that if the story was unbelievable, like it's not, it's really good. If you like these mob kind of sagas and whatnot, these melodramatic, like it's there. It's not going to necessarily change your life. It won't. But it's, you know, it's better than a lot of other kind of video game stories with the characterization, etc., etc. But it's not a life changer, so that could have pulled it up. But and again, if the overall playability of the game was just slightly better, it could have come up further as well. So the ceiling for the game, I would have said, would have been, you know, I think for subject matter and type of game, like there's a timeline where this is platinum, where all the gameplay is top drawer, the story is unbelievable, and it just comes together in this package. Realistically, the ceiling for these games typically would be gold for an absolute sterling job. What we've got here is the typical bronze, where it's got good to great storytelling, good to great kind of features underpinned into it, nice world, nice setting, well acted, all that good stuff. Gameplay that's a bit middling, some really frustrating areas, some it's serviceable areas, some good areas, and just that package doesn't quite come together to earn it anything higher than a bronze. So Mafia, the old country, bronze.
Yeah. I figured that's where
shocked him.
It should and could go. But you never know. Like some of those bits that drag it down, the stealth stuff, the knife duels, and all those bits can easily drag it down into that self-storage. But it did just hinge, I think, on, as you say, all the other good bits. Did they outweigh?
Yeah. So it's technically sound as well. So there's nothing really bad about the game. There's a few great parts, but mostly good to decent. So it survives. And it wasn't really, I don't think it was close to being in the self-storage. Had it been really abhorrent and annoying, it may have done, but, you know, I think it gets to where you think, I mean, the reviews, I think, are like low 70s, which in number scores feels a slightly harsh, because anything under an 8 is normally seen as, you know, bottom of the barrel garbage. Yeah, 74, that does seem, you know, a true 10 scale, that's probably about right, actually. But we know anything under that 8 is seen as, you know, it should have just been cancelled because it's not up to snuff, is it? So that feels like a little, in the reality of how people look at an aggregate score, that seems, in my opinion, excessively low. But well, they'll get over themselves, won't they?
This is the thing, like it's nowadays, if you get, I don't know if it's because we've been doing the FGL for so long between us that anything like in that 70s range now just feels like garbage. Everyone sort of turns their nose up at it, and it's like we're still probably very good. Yeah, like it's not top tier, but it's still very good and playable. Scores. Yeah, but everyone would be going, "That's cost you the title." Like that's how tight it is these days. Like it's more competitive than ever.
Yeah, that's that. Happy?
I'm happy. If you're happy,
yeah,
I will. Yeah, I mean, it's got me sniffing a little bit because I think, you know, it's not too long, not too, but that stealth stuff is just. I know I'll start and I'll be like, "What are we doing here?" Like, just even the thought of it now puts me off because it's just so poor. Even if it's done well, it's poor. Oh dear, what can you say?
Like it. We'll see. Maybe
I'll wait for a game store to stick it on there for nothing.
It probably will be at some point. It wouldn't surprise me. Feels like it's that sort of fodder that could end up there. But yeah, bronze for Mafia, the old country, for those sniffing around. And I'm interested to see what happens next and what they do next. I think I'd like them to stay with this linear narrative and structure. But I do think there's a game out there that sticks to that, but perhaps the missions are a little bit more open in that you don't just drive to A to B and then it all kicks off. Like, you get asked to do 3 or 4 things and you can do them in any order and then en route to them, or each of them have different little elements to them. Do you know what I mean? Like a bit more of an open format where you're not living in the open world for indefinite time. It's just that this snapshot, this day, you've got 4 jobs to do and you can choose however you do them, and perhaps they're linked in some way. Like, I do think there's like a hybrid with the missions that they could make them a little bit more dynamic. And they haven't all got to be like that. Maybe that can be like for poignant missions or the high ticket items, there's a little bit more dynamism in there, a little bit more choice. But equally, if they keep it as linear as it has been, I'm fine with that also. But I do think that's something that could be looked at to improve it.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. It's probably the one criticism in a weird kind of way is that the world is that good that it feels a bit underutilized because of the A to B nature of the game. If it gave you that little bit, that 10% extra license to do something out there or do something within your choice, if you like. As you say, you've got things to do, but you can do them how you want, go where you want, and it kind of develops a little bit. It might add a little bit more to the world.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right,
Yeah. But we'll see. See what they've got cooking. Hopefully the franchise continues. I think it's sold okay for what they... Again, if this is no good, Take-Two will be binning it, so it'll be interesting to see what they go to next. But yeah, Mafia, the old country, bronze. As usual, we'll bid you all adieu, and we'll see you on the other side. What is it? Botany Manor or Botany? How'd you do this?
Botany
Manor.
Yeah.
This is what Logan's served up that he's been playing. Before we even start, here's the store page because I need it to understand what's going on here. Botany Manor is a first-person puzzle game set in a Victorian English manor. It's 1890 and you play as a botanist. What's that? Oh, Bella Green with an E, who is working to finish her what's that? What's that word?
What?
Botanical? What's that crap? I can't. Botanical research book, Forgotten Flora. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Explore a complete historical English manor and its grounds, researching how to grow rare plant specimens from seed. There are
Who doesn't want to do that?
There are many rooms and gardens to discover, all to see the beautiful, all set inside a beautiful countryside surrounding. The manor is filled with mysterious clues we discover, including books, posters, letters, and fascinating Victorian contraptions. I ain't going to go for this. It keeps going on. I still don't understand what this is. Talk to me. Why and how?
Right. Let's start at the beginning. Free game, Epic Store.
Botanist. Is that right?
Yes. So I saw it cropped up, and I always do a temperature check of these games, right? Before I decide to jump into them, and I go, right, what are we doing? And to be fair, I will also say that the Epic Store rating out of 5-star system, the one true system for rating things, is also usually a pretty good temperature check as to whether a game is good or not.
Yeah. In
my experience. So I think this on the Epic Store, on the Epic Games launcher, should I call it?
Yep.
Has got a 4.7.
Okay.
Is that right? I don't know. Let me have a quick look. It's going to annoy me now if I've chucked out to it like that. Search store. Botany Manor. Yeah, 4.7 out of 5 stars.
On Steam, it's got an overall very positive rating.
Yeah.
94% found of this game are positive, so that's a pretty good stat.
Yeah,
well.
and also OpenCritic, it's 83 rated with 91% recommend. So
Right.
I was like, okay, well, that ain't terrible by any means. So we'll give it a little go. But yeah, I mean, that little description that you gave kind of talks to exactly what you're doing.
Well, I botched every other sentence. I don't even know what I said, nor did the audience.
Basically, you're this Arabella Green. It's 1890, right? So we're in the olden days.
Yeah.
We can firmly call it that. But yeah, you're basically wandering around this manor house, and it is a manor. You're wandering through the gardens, the lounge, the dining room, the study, the library, you name it. Finding random clues. So it'll be like a newspaper article or like a letter from someone, and you sort of read all these things. There's no voiceovers or anything like that. It is all written text. But the idea is that you find seeds to certain plants. So like you'll be in area 1. So you go in and you're in the greenhouse, say, and in the greenhouse there'll be a seed for a plant. So you pick up the seed and you go, right, okay, it's for X plant. And then there's a load of smog essentially in the greenhouse. So you need to clear it. And the plant magically clears smog, right? It's one of the advantages of this plant.
Right.
But you need to go around and figure out how to grow this plant. And there'll be clues within the area that you then have to find. There might be 4 clues for this plant. You go around and find the clues. And then you have to put the plant in the right place and do certain things with the plant to get it to grow. And when it grows, it kind of like clears the area, and then it opens up the next area for you to go to. Now, that's kind of like the initial sort of 20 minutes of the initial first part of the game.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it goes on. So you'll then get a key, for example, to the orchids. You'll go through to the orchid, and there'll be another 2 or 3 plants in that area. You'll find all different sets of clues. You've got to figure out which clues are for which plant, and then grow the plants. It's basically putting pieces together of certain plants and their attributes and why they're good to then get to the outcome of growing the plant. And then once you've grown that plant and you've got all the clues to it, it kind of forms a page in your book, and then you can go back and forth through the book for all your plants. But I would say the plant and the botany element is there. It's just a puzzle game, really. You're sort of wandering around in first person, reading things, finding clues, getting lore, understanding about this kind of family tree. And there is also an underlying narrative, I would say, highlighting the challenges for a woman in this time of being a recognised,
Hold on,
reliable...
what's this political nonsense seeping its way in? That's
Yeah,
how it was. Deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's not overbearing, I will say, but there'll be like a letter where she's applied to be on a botany society or something. They've basically replied back, going, "Nah, no, we don't be letting women on that." It's things like that. Like, it just highlights it's kind of like the struggle for this woman who wants to be a recognised botanist and teacher.
She might not have been any good at her job. We're not getting the full CV here. They might have just said that because it was the easy... They might have looked at it and gone, she ain't qualified, but we'll just chuck this back at her. Let's get the full facts out there. Where is full fact?
I think she's...
They still exist?
I think she's quite old as well. I don't know. I haven't seen anything from them in a while. Full facts. Went down the pan after COVID. It became BBC Verify or something, didn't it? That was the new thing. But yeah, you're basically just wandering around this place. I think there's probably about 10-ish plants to solve, if you like, and find your way through. And yeah, once you've kind of completed it, you complete the book, and away you go. It's probably... How long did it say I spent in the Epic Store? Let's have a look. In my little...
Does it even track that, the Epic Store? I mean, this is how
it does, time played.
Well, there you go. So it's not
6.5 hours, this.
Yeah.
And what I will say is that not all of these are... You kind of get to understand the game a little bit and how it works, but some of it to start off with can be very unobvious. Is what like some of the clues are quite subtle, and you have
He's trying
to
to cover
learn.
himself for taking 6 hours on a 2-hour game. That's what he's up to here.
No, it's. I would probably say I think there's like 5 or 6-ish levels, and you probably do spend about an hour on each one on average, which is fine. So it's not a million miles off. But yeah, there's like one puzzle which is around removing weeds essentially, and I thought I'd sussed it, but I hadn't. You had to grow them in a certain temperature that you'd have to set and do various different things. And I was kind of doing all of that, and it still weren't growing. And I was like, "What on earth is going on here?" And then basically there was a clue that I did remember about one of them. It was like, oh, funnily enough, that river or something with that weeding didn't have any rust in it afterwards. And I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, that obviously feels relevant, but I don't really understand what relevance it's got in what I'm trying to do. But there was a random rusty pig object in the attic that you could pick up, and to get it to grow, you had to drop this pig into the water.
Wow.
And it's just very obscure to the point where I'm sitting there going, I can't fucking figure it out. I'm going back through all the clues, I'm reading them. And then I basically got sick of it, that plant, and I moved on to another one. And I went into the attic and I was faffing around, and I was looking at all the objects in the attic, and there was a rusty pig. And it was one of those things where it just sort of, like, the penny dropped, and I was like, fucking hell. So you spend a bit of time. I'd probably say out of all 10 plants, I'd say there's 3 that come to mind where you kind of have to really, like, strain yourself a bit to solve the puzzle. But generally speaking, this does exactly what it says on the tin. It's quite there's no peril. It's quite relaxing. You just have a potter about. There's loads of letters. You kind of learn about this little family and stuff, and it's a relatively wholesome little experience. So yeah, I mean, feel free to pick into any of that, but there's not a whole lot to really delve into.
I suppose you played it on PC, mouse and keys, first person.
Yeah.
I assume it's just the standard setup for controls and, using the keyboard and the mouse to, rotate, etc. What about when you're like looking at clues, picking them up, going through your inventory of items? Is that all, tied up nicely so it's not a pain to get in and out of things to see what you need to see? It's all laid out nicely.
Yeah, so everything is tied to this book. So when you find a clue, what you've got to do is, essentially in the book, it will have one page where you've got your clues, and then it'll have the other page with a picture of the plant, right? And basically what you've got to do is each of the boxes will have it will say missing clue, missing clue, missing clue, missing clue. So what you have to do is you have to click on the missing clue, and then it will list all of your clues, and you can select the one that's relevant. But you can't go back and read that clue without going back to the clue itself. Like, so there's some things, like there'd be a certain poster that I'd have read. I can't reread that in, like, it's not like something I've picked up or something that I keep. It's something that's always in the place. So there'd be times when I'd be like, oh, what did that say again? And I'd have to fucking go I'd have to drop what I'm doing, go all the way back to it, read it again, and go, okay, go back, try what I was trying to do.
And it didn't work anyway, and you're like, fuck it.
It didn't work anyway. I'd go, right, okay, well, maybe I need to reread that again, so I'd have to go all the way back and do it. Like, that is a little bugbear. Like, I would like it if I've got the clue and the option to put the clue in. So it'd say, like, friend's note or, like, newspaper clipping. It knows that I've read the clue and I've got it there, but I can't get in the information without going back to read it, which is a little bit of a bugbear. But yeah, like, there's not a lot of buttons really. You don't have an inventory.
No,
you basically have just got you, and you press tab to bring up the book.
Yeah.
And that's it really. It's just standard, like, point and click when you're reading stuff. So it's a bit like, when you pick stuff up in Resident Evil. Yeah. And you can kind of turn it around and look at it and manipulate it a bit. It's exactly the same as that. Okay. And it's really just harmless. It's a nice little puzzle game, really. I quite enjoyed it.
Okay.
I think I got all the achievements bar one by through a natural place. 27 out of 30, 90%.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a gut wrencher.
Will the game does the game just end, or does it let you wander around afterwards to see all your like? Can you? Do you know what I'm saying? When you get to the point where you've done your 10 plants or whatever, does it go right credits and then you can only restart the game, or can you just go back in and wander around the house and be like, here's all my good work, everything's open, explore?
So no. Well, basically it does. Is it called a prologue? What comes after?
Epilogue.
Epilogue, that's it. So there's kind of like you complete the book and then it rolls to credits, and then it kind of puts you back into an area where it was like in the library, but there's a load of desks there. And I don't really care about giving spoilers. No one's giving a fuck about Botany Manor.
I might play it.
You ain't going to be doing plants.
Mate, I've got it. I've got it on Epic as well. It's sitting there downloading.
All right. Well, basically, there's a bit at the end where it kind of closes out the story, if you want to call it the story, right? And then you do that bit, and then it goes back to the menu. I assume you can press continue, and it might let you have a potter about to go and get the last few achievements. I think, by the way, there is an achievement for sitting in every seat. There are
fucking hell.
There's about 75, I reckon, maybe more seats in this game where you like, and it lets you sit in them, but it does nothing. So I was trying to keep track of it because I was like, I bet this is an achievement. I bet I've missed like 2 seats or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the puzzles are quite good in it. It's a really relaxing, chilled out game. A few hours, no harm, no foul. So yeah, I can kind of see why it kind of got a pretty good score, to be honest. Even if you don't like plants, it's just a nice little puzzle game. I would put this firmly in palate cleanser territory.
Yeah, at least it's of the right length, at least. I guess my question is, how did this get picked up and played? Like, because there's a million of these types of games. Epic stores giving away free games every week. Like, you've probably got 100 odd games on there. How does this one, like, what did you see? Was it just the art? Did you know about it? Had you heard someone speaking about it, or is it just
never heard of it? I mean, I may have heard about it in the past.
Yeah,
it might have been one of those. I feel like it's one of those games that I might have randomly looked at one year for a FGL game.
Oh, right.
I don't know. Like
2024 it came out, so it may have been in that.
Yeah, so I may have the name rang a bell. But yeah, it's just it's got a nice. I liked the aesthetic of it. Like it looks like it had a pretty cool art style, which I quite liked. And I quite like just puzzle games. And I was sort of crying out for something harmless to play. Yeah, so just having a kid rock up. You kind of just go, well, I need something that doesn't take a million. That I'm not wholly invested in. That I can sort of sit here and play in between it. So I was like, this seems all right. It literally cropped up. I think it might have been last week or the week before as one of the free games. And I was like, right game, right time.
Yeah.
See, and what I'll do with these games is if it seems like it's sort of might meet what I'm after, I'll sort of play it and start it and see if it's got legs. And yeah, like pretty quickly into it, I was like, okay, we'll give it a go. But I've just seen, I can see on the store, if you buy this game, it's £19.79.
Yep. It's £22.49 on Steam.
I'm not sure.
I was going to ask. I was going to save that right to the end after you'd like decided on it, so it didn't mar you. But you found it with your own eyes. Yeah. And I was going to shock you with because what you was describing, I was like, I wonder how much is this, and I was like, oh, £22.50.
Sure. I honestly, it's really difficult when you play a game for nothing to then put a price on what you'd pay. I mean, I'll be honest, I wouldn't have paid for this game. So, it's really hard for them to put a price, but 20 quid feels for 6 and a bit hours and there's not a lot else going on in it.
We're stretching things, aren't we, with that?
It feels like it's a bit of a stretch to me. But still, nonetheless, I liked it.
Yeah.
What can I say? You know, it's a very harmless, nice little puzzle game. And it's really tricky because some of the puzzles did at times feel egregiously difficult, but I found it easier. Honestly, as you get through it, some of them feel like you have to really, really think about them, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but I'm always conflicted because I wanted a relaxing experience with a little bit of challenge. I don't want to then become Sherlock fucking Holmes over the clues, right? So it is a difficult balance, but on the whole, it does it quite well, skirting between challenging and just fucking obtusely up its own arse.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right. Any other business for Botany Manor before we get into the main
I'm not going to
event?
overindulge myself with it.
No. Fair enough. So we've got the format. It's got Gaming's gallery of games sitting here. Mm-hmm. You can chuck it in there, and it'll go into you're like a curator in there. So you've got your own area, alcove or a wing, and then inside there it shows all your platinum rated games, your gold rated games, your silver rated games, your bronze rated games. Or if you don't want to be really associated with it inside the gallery, which is quite a prestigious entry requirement, you can chuck it in self-storage outside, or as the Americans call it, a trunk room.
Do they?
Yeah, apparently. If what I was saying to them was, if I described it in a way that they translated it to what I meant, then a trunk room is being called instead of a self-storage or a storage.
Why do they always
container.
call things like what is, like they call it a waste paper basket other than a bin? They have to go, what goes in there is what it is.
Can you only put paper in it though?
But you know what I mean, though? They always do. Like, they always label things. Like they call it a sidewalk because you're on the side of the road and you walk on it. Like whatever they do, they label it whatever it does.
Arguably, it's easier, isn't it?
I mean, they just, there's certain things of our language they took and they went, no, that's too complicated to call it a pavement. Doesn't clearly outline what it does. Well, it's a walk on the side, so we'll call it a sidewalk.
Yeah.
What goes in there?
Don't hate
Waste paper. What is it? It's a basket. Waste paper basket. What if you want to put something else in there? Waste paper only.
Well, how do they get away with that? Well, they're recycling before they got ahead of the game there. If they're already separating paper of its own bins, they were ahead of the game with that recycling lark that's installed everywhere with 64 bins, which we won't talk about this time because there's too many fucking bins getting blown all over the roads. Anyway,
yes,
we've got self-storage, or we've got an entry into Gaming's gallery game under the stewardship of Logan. What say you, sir?
Yeah. So I'm going to put this one in the bronze.
It made it. It made it. A bronze for Botany Manor.
I kind of feel like it's making a mockery of the whole system.
If you'd paid 22 quid for it, do you think that would change?
That's really hard. No.
Hard, but...
It's hard. I mean, look...
But you wouldn't have bought it, though, ever, for that price.
This is the
it
point.
never would have even got through the gates
it,
with it. No.
It wouldn't, yeah. But the simple fact is I still liked it. But it's like a lot of the games, these palette cleansers, I don't really feel like a lot, if any of these palette cleansers deserve the money they're asking
They're
necessarily.
on the expensive side, aren't they? Sometimes you think, interesting.
I think they should always be sub £15. Like, that's where I feel like they should sit. Right. But we obviously, back in the day, we played a lot of those palette cleansers on the old Game Pass and stuff. So again, you kind of sullied by the value of that. And that's back when we were gassing that up.
Yeah, it's true.
So I don't think I've ever really properly bought a palette cleanser. And I feel like that's the way I want it to stay.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Unless they're like absolutely mind-blowing, then absolutely. Yeah, it's just interesting.
Don't be going to spend 20 quid on this. Just don't be doing it. It's my advice. Which feels like a weird advice to give, Sid, because if you're not giving it a bronze, but it's pick it up on the Epic Store is my advice, and keep your eye on it, because you can get little gems like this for nothing.
Yeah, they're knocking around, so keep
at it. Oh, maybe. Don't know. Feels generous again.
Botany Manor earns itself a bronze into Gaming's gallery of game under the stewardship of Logan. We won't labour anymore for Botany Manor, so we'll get out of here. Bid you adieu, and we'll see you on the other side.
This was a Dimp Digital production.